2 hours, 40 minutes again. Somebody missed it. It's 2 hours, 40 minutes again.
91 days ago, a group of over 40 untitled friends set out on a journey they called Season 5. Through 11 races across some of NASCAR's most exciting circuits, we've determined there to be 4 of those friends worthy of fighting for the season championship, and it's all going down at Charlotte Motor Speedway, over 150 laps of racing tonight. Welcome to Pit Stop TV. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV with Gary Weaver alongside, and finally the time has come to go championship racing from the heart of the NASCAR industry, Charlotte Motor Speedway. The final 4 that will fight this evening are as follows: Ryan Vargas, Zach Nichols, Brian Mercurio, and Matt Kemp, and they're all on even footing until the green flag drops and they race it out here at Charlotte tonight, Gary. One of the more exciting tracks now with this NASCAR Next Gen vehicle. Of course, it is a classic in NASCAR racing. It's been around, hosting the World 600 since 1960. It's been here for a long time. Charlotte Motor Speedway, a classic, both, I'd say, in the past and the present, and it's the championship finale this season.
Something I am absolutely excited for. Essentially NASCAR's backyard, and it's going to be a very, very intriguing race here. 150 laps tonight, and with all 4 drivers battling it out, it's going to be a very, very long event here for those 4.
Let's take a look in sim now finally as we take a look high above the Charlotte Motor Speedway, 1.5 miles in length, and of course it has the Roval inside of it. But Charlotte Motor Speedway is such a fantastic racetrack, and I think underrated for many years. It's recently kind of come back to the forefront of fans' minds as being a good track with this next-gen vehicle. And of course, the NASCAR Xfinity Series has always been fantastic to watch here. The Roval is amazing here. It's a big-time multi-use facility. You see all the different layouts and bits of pavement just within the 1.5-mile speedway here, Gary. But there's other facilities on the property. You've got ZMAX across the street. You've got the dirt track across the street. You've got the 5th mile oval off the backstretch. There is so much, and potentially more coming, coming the way soon in terms of a permanent road course outside of this. Who knows? That's just rumors, I think, for now. But there's so much to do here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. You could technically, with the kart track inside of turns 3 and 4, you could actually, I believe I counted it once, run 6 different races at once on the property of Charlotte Motor Speedway. That's how cool this place is.
There are so many things around here. It is insane. And one of my most favorite things is the Roval, especially considering the looming threat, of rain coming to iRacing especially. I still say the very first thing I'm doing when that comes to iRacing is the Xfinity Series at the Roval in the rain, because, well, why not? It was chaos then in real life, so might as well add to the service as well and see how that is. But I very much vividly remember even running the Mazdas at the 2016 iteration of the Roval too.
Let's take a look at this season's point standings coming into this evening. There you go, +0 for all of these 4 fighting for a championship. Zach Nichols, Brian Mercurio, Ryan Vargas, and Matt Kemp. They each have a win. 2 of them have 2 wins, and I think that really sets a couple of these drivers, Zach Nichols and Brian Mercurio, apart from the other 2, Ryan Vargas and Matt Kemp. That said, Gary, while Ryan's lone win was Daytona, he nearly won Talladega, and he's been really, really good at a couple of other racetracks. I think North Wilkesboro has to come to mind as the place where I think we've seen him be the strongest to come back through the field. I know he wasn't necessarily lights out going out there and racing with Nichols and Mercurio, but he was really good. I go back to, I believe he was great at Atlanta as well. There were just some racetracks where Ryan really rose to the occasion and raced up with these sim guys. I think we're going to watch a very even race. That said, of course, Matt Kemp, Mercurio, Nichols, they have all shown amazing intermediate speed, some of the best intermediate speed of the entire field this season. It's going to be lights out between those 4, and you see the rest of the standings down below. But really, of course, we're watching those 4 for the championship tonight. I have no clue who's going to win this thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Part of me wants to lean with Mercurio because of how his dominance was at Kansas, but technically, no, I mean, quite officially, at least in terms of how the track is laid out, that's quite different compared to Charlotte. Kansas and Charlotte are 2 entirely different tracks. The same track length, sure, but it's going to be a whole different beast, essentially.
Well, qualifying on track, as you can see going on behind us, to the top of the board already, Doug Denice in car 40, as you see the 4 championship drivers highlighted with their white number tiles and red numbers. Hey, Trey Patton checking in. There's Pit Pass Network in the YouTube chat. Of course, we're streaming on Kick now. We're streaming on Twitch, where we've seen a couple of guys chime in as well, cheering on Ryan Vargas. There is definitely some energy, I think, behind this race this evening. Good to see you all joining us here at Pit Stop TV. Zach Nichols, top of the board, car number 45. There he is, wrapping up his qualifying run. And the driver out of Michigan might just start from the front row. How about Jonathan Palmieri, P2?
A run for his qualifying. It's about 2/10 off, just about, give or take. But a very, very good run. So far, Nichols the only one to cross the 30.1 barrier. And right when I say that, Jonathan Taylor gets closest with a 30.235.
Corey Heim goes P3. Justin Malillo gets on track, P14. Looks like his qualifying run is done. How about Brian Mercurio out of New Jersey? He's going for pole. He's 9th quick after lap number 1. On board with him for lap number 2. This could make or break the championship finale as Matt Kemp goes to the top of the board by 32 1/1000ths. That moves the goalposts a little bit further from Mercurio on this money lap right here for car 41 to the start-finish line. Is it good enough for pole? Survey says yes. Brian Mercurio to the top.
Is that by 0.15 seconds as well? 0.015 seconds as well. That is absolutely insane. The entire championship 4 at the moment all sitting in the top 5.
Yeah, Ryan Vargas got his run in there as well, a little bit under the radar to us. So all 4 of your final 4 in the top 5 positions. Jonathan Taylor playing the spoiler right now between those drivers. Here's a look at Chris Wetz as he speeds down the backstretch to try and set a time for himself. This is lap number 2 for his run. How about Joel Smith as well on lap number 2? Just began that lap. Wets up out of turn number 4 and to the start-finish line. The number 71 will move well up the board from 19th, but how far up? Oh, wow, 6th place. Big jump up there for Chris Wetz.
Right on board Joel Smith as he makes his way through turns 3 and 4. A bit of a wiggle there, but he's hanging on to it. Goes up to the outside, dives back down to the inside, hugs the inside lane, and he goes 4th fastest.
Wow. And that bumps Ryan Vargas down to 6th. So now that's setting the 30 car apart from everybody else in terms of this championship fight as Mercurio got some extra laps and he comes to a stop now, calling it all good and done for his qualifying run. A really intriguing qualifying session, and we aren't even completely done, but it looks like all cars are stopped in the pit lane. How about weather conditions then for this race, Gary? These are going to be oh so important. You can see at the top of the board, well, 78 degrees in sim, 98 degrees on the track. It looks like we've gotten static weather, which is going to play a big role in tonight's race.
I'll see how things fare as well, but man, it's going to be it's a nice, regular, cozy day, essentially. It's not too awful on the outside, but then again, this is North Carolina. If I remember correctly, they do have a bit more humidity, so I wouldn't know. I'm from the I'm from the Southwest. We don't exactly have humidity unless it rains, and even then we don't really have that much either. So, relatively cozy day with some extra steps we'll go with.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to live both sides, or unlucky enough, depending on how you want to look at it. North Carolina in May, not too bad, but once it gets to June, boy, does it get hot. The July, August months sweltering sometimes here in North Carolina as... I think the biggest role that this static weather is going to play is it looks like we've been dealt just a weird hand. It's kind of a throwback situation, if you will, with the 0x time advance, 0x, I guess, or the static weather that we're looking at for this race. It's kind of like an iRacing throwback. Of course, it is throwback week. I think the biggest thing with that, Gary, is we're not going to see the track change from the start of the race, and we really haven't had to deal with that on iRacing in a long, long time. We haven't broadcast many races like that really at all. That's honestly, I think it's taken for granted. It's been around now for just long enough that I think it's taken for granted. I don't really know how that's going to affect these guys, but they're not going to have to go through the same track changes we usually see over the course of one of these races, and this is the longest race we've seen so far this season on an intermediate track Race details, bottom right of the screen, 150 laps. It's a bit of a long one. A 60-lap stage 1. These guys have to pit in both stages. We are not entirely accustomed to that here in the UFL Elite Series.
And then I believe the second stage as well is going to be from pretty much lap 90 to 150, technically.
Yeah, 60 to 150, a 90-lap stage.
That's what it was. All right, so that's what my brain was going for, and that didn't exactly click through. But yeah, it's going to be as said by Palmieri during the drivers' meeting from overhearing the race control radios, that's the second longest race of the season. So definitely not wrong with that. Definitely utilizing the all the time that we have here, and it's going to be very, very wild. And I think, to be fair, especially considering the circumstances, I think it's pretty fair. Let everything play out as it should.
We're going to see how things go over the course of the evening. Cars on track here for warm-up. Corey Heim to the top of the board as you see the times shuffling around. And this is a good chance to kind of index who's who and who's quick in this session. As you see a few drivers headed down the backstretch. Aaron Smith, hang on. Does he have a sponsor on board that number 70? That is not at all what I'm used to seeing. No Kid Hungry. What a worthy organization to put on the hood of that car. Shout out to Aaron Smith. Always runs a blank yellow car. Now he's got some logos on it.
And no, might as well. He didn't even set a qualifying time, so I think at this point he's just running this out just for fun. Not really trying to mess anything up, mess up his qualifying rounds. We see Kemp going for the end of a spin here, and it's at turn 3.
A new paint for car 54 in the championship finale, and wow. From one championship driver rounded warm-up to another, Zach Nichols in the front stretch in trouble there in car 45. As it looks like Kemp and Nichols will both now sit in the pit lane. How about Ryan Vargas then on track? The only of our championship drivers currently on track. And Ryan Vargas sporting a new sponsor this week, Pit Pass Network on board that number 30. Of course, we saw them out in the YouTube chat. Butlerville is still on there. His usual partner is still involved. But Pit Pass Network getting involved. Very cool to see. Anytime a new partner gets involved with anybody in sim racing, especially in a league as high profile as the UFL Elite Series, and of course broadcast here on Pit Stop TV, very cool to see Pit Pass Network getting involved this evening and right at the back end of this season for Ryan Vargas, as they're going to power him to a strong run this evening. P5 so far in warm-up, top of the championship drivers, but he's got some work to do when it comes to the race.
We'll see how things go for Ryan Vargas, since he'll be starting off in the 6th place position on the outside lane, and the rest of the championship drivers are going to be running very close, just like that, no doubt, starting 1st through 3rd. So we'll see how things go, but no doubt we'll be seeing a lot of side drafting like that throughout. Nichols running the high lane, I see just in the background actually as well. Fluman, as he just gets by Palmieri in the background.
Yeah, this feels like a preview of what we'll see tonight between the 30 and 45 cars. Vargas down low, a little bit older tires. Nichols up top, a little bit newer tires. Ooh. Side by side, and both get loose. How about that? I mean, that feels like exactly what we'll see through the course of this evening. The static weather, I think, will make things that bit more interesting. We're not working into the evening, so the track is never going to cool down. We're going to stay with a hot track over the course of this race. That's going to be a little bit different as Nichols really bends it there off the backstretch. But here's Matt Kemp in the closing moments of this warm-up session. And, of course, Mercurio on track practicing his pit entry. Love to see that.
I feel like Melillo snuck his way into the infield somehow. You'll just see him there, that little red car there.
That's,
yeah. Cars does not look like the others here.
Over in the Roval entrance, it looks like Melillo decided to come to a park, but that is it then for warm-up. That means we have a race on deck. Again, 150 laps the distance as we get set to go for the UFL Elite Series season finale. Thanks again for joining us here at Pit Stop TV. It would be really, really cool, we'll say, if you followed us over on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Kick.com, as we've added that to our repertoire. 26 cars ready to go racing this evening from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Let's take a look at your starting grid. On pole, car number 41 comes in this evening, maybe a bit of a even footing with Zach Nichols, at least in terms of win numbers. They each come in with 2 wins. Top of the series, Mercurio starts from pole. That said, Matt Kemp comes in with just 1 win to Mercurio's 2 and Nichols 2. So Matt Kemp, of course, has said multiple times that he kind of feels like an underdog in this situation. Well, he's starting from second. Let's see what he can do in the championship finale. Starting from third, it is Zach Nichols, the other driver with 2 wins, alongside Joel Smith, not in the championship for this evening. Starting from fifth, Jonathan Taylor in car 7, also playing spoiler, as Ryan Vargas is the 4th of your championship 4 drivers. He rolls off from the 6th spot. The rest of your top 10, Chris Wetz, Carson Bowers there in the 14 car. How about 2-time winner on the season, Corey Heim, and Gabe Herschel in car 07.
Dalton Palmieri qualified in 11th. Doug Nice, 12th place. Cy Bowen will start off in 13th. 14th place is David Cabrera. Good to see him back on track. Leighton Sabile will start off in 15th place, with his outside being occupied by the 99 of Jake Fluman. Manon Rahman starts off in P17, and Sean Butler to his outside off in P18. And then running at the top 20 are Ryan Pistano on the 43 and the 53 of Justin Melillo.
6 more cars in the field, those being Anthony Rotolo in car 5, Michael Frisch in car 58. He has 2 wins in the season as well, getting the second one at Talladega a few weeks back. Starting 23rd, Aaron Smith. 24th, the driver with the most laps completed coming into this evening, Andrew Schwartz. That is an impressive stat. Tristan Hagenstein will grid up this evening from 25th. And 26th, shotgun on the field, Austin Moore in car 91. Ryan Mercurio set to lead us to the green this evening. Once again, thanks for joining us here at Pit Stop TV. I know last week we had some technical difficulties, and it feels oh so good to be back here for a green flag start in the UFL Elite Series. 150 laps the distance into the Geico restart zone, and the green flag flies for the final time in Season 5. They're crashing immediately. Zach Nichols across the stripe. Car 45 in tons of trouble, and I think... did the 30 get a piece of it?
Barely missed it.
Zach Nichols from the drop of the green halts us on the front stretch. Drama to get the night started. How about it? As Ryan Vargas, it seems, does get by the other drivers. Well, they were on your front row. Nichols was starting from third. So already trouble for one of our top championship competitors. That's going to shake, rattle, and roll the driver of the 45. Look at all of that damage on the side of that car.
He got nailed in the side, and he wasn't the only driver that got loose as well, as everyone waits for the pace car. I saw that Brian Mercurio also had gotten loose, so it's a very sketchy situation, essentially. 95 degrees on the track temperature right now, and it's not going too well.
You see everybody trying to check up and wait on the iRacing.com pace car, as you mentioned. Matt Kemp is down here nearly in turn 1. Mercurio is off of turn 4. And we certainly have one of the more unique situations we ever could have. If you recall the finish to Talladega, this is almost rivaling that. But let's take a look back at how we got this race started. Certainly not on a good note for car 45. So this is back to the pace lap as they got ready to go racing. And let's just go on board with Zach Nichols first and take a look as to what happened here. You see him warming up the tires a little bit. This is a little bit, you get a moment to kind of get in the feeling here of being Zach Nichols for this race, or for the start of this race. And Gary, what goes wrong here?
Let's see what happens here. Pace car pulls off. He's going to pull up right to the back bumper of Mercurio just to get that launch. As soon as Mercurio does, look at the revs, 7,200, and first gear, second, and tire spin.
Yep. Wow, Rotolo got him hard. I think he was okay until that hit. Let's take a look at this one more time. Watch Zach Nichols, and we'll have to go on board with some of the other drivers here. He was in first gear. He got into the back of the 41. I wonder if it was the first gear start or the contact with Mercurio that got that car unsettled. Let's go on board with Mercurio and see what it was saying on his dash as he started this race from pole position. It was first gear.
Only 7,000 though. He did get loose, but yeah, they didn't make contact. It was just right at the last second.
I'm really not sure. I mean, was there contact maybe from Taylor behind? I don't think so. Jonathan Taylor on board here for the start of the race. I mean, he's way back. No, I think he just spun the tires. Let's take the onboard with Anthony Rotolo. Inside the cockpit, this will be an interesting view as he took the green flag here behind Ryan Pistana. Way deep in the field. And this is what really, that big hit is what delivers the blow to the 45 car. And Gary, you know as well as I do, it's those weird hits like that, the center of the door, that just might be what damages the motor permanently for the 45 this evening. It's weird stuff like that. It's not always just hits to the nose. Sometimes it's those weird hits to the door.
Yeah, it just didn't really fare too well. Rotolo couldn't go anywhere right the last second. This is going to be a great shot here. Riding on board Ryan Vargas. Waiting for the green.
I don't know how Ryan misses this. I mean, look at that.
Ooh.
Excellent work.
If anything, it probably scratched the paint.
Maybe. Just maybe. And I noticed car 9 took a big hit. This is Joel Smith. Watch him in the restart zone here. Big shot to the door, and then the 17 spins down to the inside. Cy Bowen just trying to miss it. Pretty well sends his car into the AstroTurf just to keep his race alive, and does so. And we've had some pit stops. Aaron Smith, Andrew Schwartz, Justin Malillo, Zach Nichols, and Anthony Rotolo all pitting. David Cabrera seems to be out of the race, not taking the start, it looks like, or if he did, he didn't go far from it, as I think the second biggest thing, of course, the biggest thing is Zach Nichols just took all that damage. Gary, the second biggest thing out of this, Matt Kemp is the race leader for this restart, and that is going to be huge. I mean, track position is always a big thing. As you can see, it looks like we've had to issue some waiver rounds as we do the long Congo line for every position south of 5th.
Yeah, so the weird thing that happened was it was the timing of the caution. So everyone was stuck behind the pace car and then stuck in front of the leader, and it was a whole weird thing. But everyone's on the lead lap, everyone's fine. So we'll see how things go. I'm surprised that race control isn't letting them at least line up on the outside as if it would be a normal start, but it's because it would just be it's a bit strange, but
it would be a lot to clear. I think it would be more. Well, you see now the pace car lights have been re-enabled. I was going to say it might be a little more trouble than it's actually worth. In this case, they might be reconsidering.
Listen to the. So they are working on figuring everything out.
Well, it wasn't going to be an easy start, was it? It certainly was not going to be, especially, like I said, if the conclusion of Talladega was any indicator of some of the interesting things that can happen, well, we're definitely adding to that history, I suppose, if you will. It looks like they're maybe doubling up. I see Chris Wetz the outside. Maybe not. I think just trying to sort out some positions. And yeah, looks like they're going to try and double them up here and go green flag racing this next time by and just issue some black flags cleared. This is always a weird spot as a league, and it happens in official racing too. Spun tires on starts, a very common thing in oval racing. It's more detrimental in an official race. These guys at least have the chance to kind of sort this out, communicate with each other, and have a controlled attempt here.
Yeah, it was just odd timing on the part of timing and scoring for at least iRacing's part because of where the pace car was and how soon the caution flag was thrown. But it happens, and that's nothing a little bit of a to break the fourth wall. It's nothing a little clear all couldn't fix.
Well, Matt Kemp, Brian Mercurio, that is your front row as we get ready to go back racing. We've only raced for about 25 feet so far. Joel Smith, though, will restart this race from 3rd. Jonathan Taylor 4th with some Christmas tree action. Ryan Vargas going to restart this race from 5th. Then Chris Wetz, Carson Bowers, Corey Heim, Doug Denice and Gabe Herschel, your top 10, as we work, well, the iRacing.com pace car back to the safety pit lanes. We work down to the Geico restart zone. Lap 6 of 150 will conclude. Lap 7 begins, and we are back green flag at Charlotte. A clean opening lap, if you will, after the melee there on the true opening lap. A clean second opening lap for the field as Ryan Vargas makes a pass on Chris Wetz. That's for 5th position to reclaim it anyways for car 30. Zach Nichols, by the way, 22nd position now that we're back green flag racing.
He's got a long race ahead of him. He had to spend the time in pit road under caution for a solid 1 minute. Same goes for Anthony Rotolo. They both have the same pit box time, essentially, so to repair their damage. So we'll see how those two fare. And hopefully, for the most part, it'll go well, but I'll have to wait and see how this race plays out for them.
Meanwhile, racing for the race lead, Mercurio purple that time, trying to set up Matt Kemp for a pass as Jonathan Taylor takes a look at the 41 car and says, maybe I'll take that position away for second spot. Taylor that time in 3 has to follow behind Mercurio's footsteps, and there is no advancement made up out of the 4th corner. Lap 9 complete this time, Kemp still leading.
See if Mercurio does go to the outside again, or if Kemp takes away the line. He does not. They both stay on the inside lane. Pretty sure Mercurio is probably trying out the outside lane and seeing if they could work this early on, but not quite yet.
A long single file line of cars down the backstretch, and Ryan Vargas closing in a little bit tight that time in 3 and 4. It looks like the 30 car fighting a little bit snug early. Meanwhile, here we go for the race lead again. Mercurio got real close that time at a turn 1. Corey Heim, purple. And Mercurio, man, you can tell he wants to get by Kemp if he can, but waiting for an opportunity. Here it is.
Doesn't entirely side drop, but he will go to the inside and take away the preferred line for Matt Kemp. Kemp will immediately fall back, and just like that, put Mercurio up on the top of the timing tower.
Ryan Mercurio made that one look easy, but it's far from done here for our race leaders out front. Here comes Jonathan Taylor around the outside in car 7, and maybe that does make it over for the race lead. Mercurio powers away through 1 and 2. Taylor not wasting any time. He wants to go forward, even if he's not in the playoffs. He wants some spots, and he's got them.
Jonathan Taylor doing a fantastic job, and of course, the essentially obvious reminder as Kemp is falling back again on the outside. He might have burnt up his tires actually from that restart. He's going to fall into the clutches of Ryan Vargas here in a second, but of course, any driver that finishes, or any Championship 4 driver that finishes ahead of the other 3 essentially will pretty much be the winner of the championship. So you don't have to win to win.
That's right, even footing for these guys. Just top finisher gets the championship. Obviously, if you win, that ensures that you get the championship. Otherwise, top finisher at the end of the race, the stage does not matter, does not factor in as you take a look at the fight for second in the playoffs in the championship, but 4th on the racetrack. Ryan Vargas up top early there in turns 1 and 2, and it might work out for him. No, he sits back as Corey Heim takes a look to the inside and now decides better of it. Back on board with car 30. He's running just a little bit higher even here in 3 and 4 than Matt Kemp, at least on entry, kind of neutral line through the center of the corner. I don't think Ryan is too concerned with going too early here, though. Again, these guys don't have to worry about stage 1. All they have to do is position themselves for the race win.
Not only that, but they also have to keep in mind the fuel as well. It would be an estimated, at least how it would be, 45 laps, but with the caution that we had, it should get us to about maybe lap 50, if not 55, 53-ish, as we see this little fun battle here around the start of the top 10, as Denice cuts the nose off of Gabe Herschel, sorry. That's for 9th place.
Really close here between these guys. A lot of blue and black in these three cars. Doug Nice, Gabe Herschel, and Sean Butler in the 23. Butler on the top side now as the Nice pulls down in front of Herschel. And, whoa, big moment there as they're 3 wide, headed to turn number 3. Herschel backs out, makes it 2. Frisch now takes a look down low underneath Palmieri. And they are getting racy back here for 9th, 10th, and 11th. That 40 is blinking a lot. He's got to get out of the way.
So he's moved to the inside, at least for the time being. He didn't really get the stable corner, so he's going to drop back quite a bit. I did see him bobble just a little bit on the inside. Now he'll stay to the inside here.
Meanwhile, further ahead, Matt Kemp and Ryan Vargas side-by-side racing for a moment. Vargas had the spot. Kemp now gets it back through 3 and 4, but they're not done.
Look at this, Joel Smith as well, technically giving both of them a draft. If I was looking in the mirror, I'd think, who do I want to help? Why not just both of them and mess with them for a little bit?
Lap 18, and we've got racing for second place in the championship. Kemp fending off Ryan Vargas that time out of turn number 2. Now Joel Smith goes up top, trying to work the top lane. And it works that time, I'd say, through 3 and 4. Pulls a little bit on Jonathan Taylor, gets a little bit closer. But is there anything he can do with the garage oil number 7? I don't think so. And he will sit in behind Taylor, but actually work now the top side again. It wanted to above that seam, right about center track. And again, a situation where blinking, I think, is having an effect on this battle. I mean, where do you want to go when you're racing a guy that isn't there half the time through the corners?
The lane that they're not in.
Yeah.
Preferably, the very most preferable option. But to be fair, it's also one of those things where this has been happening for quite a while. So the longer this happens and the longer someone doesn't move, at least for me, and depending on the person, it starts to get a bit less lenient. So, but it's the most preferable option is quite legitimately the opposite lane of where the other driver is not.
You know, I'm surprised with all of this racing that Mercurio hasn't pulled further away, but he's only about a quarter second out in front of this battle. As you can see him in the same shot as Vargas got in deep that time in 3 and 4, pushed up a lot, and is still trying to get up to the top of the racetrack and clear himself ahead of Corey Heim, and that's just not going to happen. Corey Heim sticking on the outside of the 30 car, and we're seeing early, these guys not in the championship 4 are not afraid to race.
At this point, they know that nothing is at, well, I wouldn't say nothing is at stake for them. The drivers who aren't in the championship, they don't really have much to lose. So to a certain extent, and I emphasize that greatly, they can make a few more daring moves than the drivers in the championship 4.
Lap 21 complete that time by as you watch the entire field fly by our speed shots and battles deep in the field. 25 cars still running out of 26 that started. And now Jonathan Taylor up the racetrack. Joel Smith finally got by. There goes Kemp. There goes Corey Heim. And I think the 7 is getting up out of the way now, realizing the kind of situation that we've got. Maybe not.
I guess we'll see. Nope, not necessarily.
Vargas going to have to work at it then here as he's fallen down to the 6th position. And this is the lowest he's been since that restart that got this run back underway.
To be fair, at least for Vargas, I'd say it could be worse. See also Zach Nichols, who is at least saying 20th right now. He is battling alongside Andrew Schwartz right now for at least 20th place, so it could be a lot worse. But Nichols is still hanging in there, and he does have a pit stop, a green flag pit stop, to see if he can get himself back in the race here. He
might be able to stretch this out now, by the way, too. You know, they're very close.
Draft, yeah.
Very close on fuel after that caution and all of that fuel saving. He might be able to stretch it out to the end of stage 1, which is the end of lap 60. Traditionally, a 100% fuel load would take these guys clear to the end of those 60 laps. Wow, Taylor's getting real loose up out of the corner now. You can see here Kemp is pulled away now from Corey Heim and Joel Smith. Jonathan Taylor, Ryan Vargas, this is certainly a situation for the 30 cars. He's still stuck behind the blinking 7. Now works to the outside. But traditionally, these guys would be good for fuel for the entirety here of stage 1. That's not really the case, though. 70% fuel loads. That's going to put them right about 45 laps or so, maybe even a little bit less, depending on how hard they run the car, if they downshift to fourth gear through the corners, or maybe even more, maybe 55 laps or so, if they save fuel and try to extend it. So it's close to being possible with that pit stop under that yellow. I think it's certainly within the realm of possibility and maybe worth considering for guys like Zach Nichols way back in the field. I mean, it's not going to do anything but put him in better track position for the end of the stage.
That is true. Andrew Schwartz and Aaron Smith, they only pit for 4.5 and 4.9 seconds respectively, so they probably had topped off on fuel as they get very close here in turns 3 and 4. Careful, guys. Melillo stopped for 11.3 seconds, so either he took 2 tires and topped off, or he took 4 tires and that was just a wicked fast pit stop.
Yeah, Nichols very close that time with Aaron Smith as Zach has lost another spot now down to 21st, and Aaron Smith I think is going to try and still take that away. The 20 or the 45, it's not looking good right now, Gary. Definitely seems like he's off pace. Definitely seems like he's got trouble.
Let's see, 30.4 seconds. Wait, nope, wrong time. 31.5. Last about the start-finish line. In fact, they crossed it again. So, yeah, 31.5 versus the leader's 31.1. He might be down on power.
I think so.
Rotolo's in the same ballpark just about. He did 31.3 last time.
Yeah, it's just not looking good for Zach Nichols. He's hung on for a while, hung on to a few of these spots, but we got some early. But as this run sets in and the tires wear out, he's just not able to compensate for the damage to the motor as he was earlier in the run. And how about a resurgence from somebody that we thought burned his tires off? This is an interesting and very intriguing top 3 right now. Mercurio, Kemp, and then Corey Heim. And frankly, if there's one driver that I thought should have been in this Final 4 that isn't, it's Corey Heim in the 11. 2 wins this season. They came at Martinsville and Phoenix and subsequent races, consecutive races, that's the word I was looking for, right at the end of the regular season to put himself as a top seed going in. Had a terrible, terrible day at Talladega to open the playoffs, and since then just was not able to recover as actually his teammate, Leighton Sabile, headed down the pit lane. And this could be indicative of what these guys are doing, trying to split the stage. This is right at halfway, lap 30.
It might be something that Zach Nichols could consider because fifth gear going into turn 1, his RPM is about 8,300 as compared to the leaders being about 8,400 just about. It doesn't seem like much, but that is a lot of power, especially since some of these drivers are downshifting to 4th in the turns.
Palmieri headed in. Here comes Zach Nichols. You called the shot perfectly, so he's headed down the pit lane. And as we mentioned, these guys working with a fuel window of somewhere around 45 laps. 45 to 55, we'll say, depending on how much fuel saving they do, depending on what gear they run in the corners. You could leave it in 5th and try to save a little more. You could drop in the 4th and run for lap times. But Nichols into the pit lane, and we'll see what goes on here for car 45. Of course, all of that damage, it's not looking great, but he's at least going to try and keep this race alive. There he goes quickly. Fuel only here for stage 1. These tires can do it. So that's a solid move.
For Sabile, it was a 14.6 second stop. Nichols, as we see, 9.8 seconds. And Palmieri, 15 flat, actually, for his pit stop. So some drivers, at least those two, taking tires. And Palmieri with a unsafe pit exit penalty probably incoming. He got loose on the apron to turn 2 and exited before the blend line. Let's see if that affects him.
Chris Wett's also pitting, but we continue watching your top 3 on lap 33 of 150. That time, Kemp stepped out a little bit, and Ryan Vargas is back behind these guys now by about 2 seconds. And this is the largest separation we've seen up front all race long now. I know we aren't very far into this race, but it's still a little bit shocking now to see just how far back Joel Smith and Ryan Vargas have fallen, along with Michael Frisch now, who's in 6th, Sean Butler in 7th. Those guys have moved up a bunch as Jonathan Taylor comes down to the pit lane.
Palmieri is also coming to the pit lane as well. He's got to serve probably a 40-second stop and go penalty.
Kemp down low that time, right on the white and blue line, real loose in the center of the corner. I'm seeing as this run goes on, that 54 is getting looser and looser and looser and stepping out more and more, particularly on corner exit. But also, Gary, I don't know if you've run this car here recently, but there is a nasty bump in Charlotte turns 3 and 4 that's been there for a long time, and it really upsets this car.
I'm pretty sure the second I take a lap around here and I feel that bump, I'll be like, oh yeah, that one. But,
yeah.
At the moment, doesn't entirely come to
right
mind,
about there. Just the car, the track kind of, the radius of the corner tightens up as, here we go, Ryan Vargas into the pit lane. And this is a big-time undercut that really could help depending on whether or not he goes for 4 tires, 2 tires, or what he does. We'll wait and see. As Vargas takes the long trip down, we'll see what our leaders do this time by as well as they lap Jonathan Taylor in the 7. Mercurio leading still over Kemp and Heim. What do they do down here?
Kemp's going to pit road. He's way too
there
wide, although Heim and Mercurio go to pit road.
Mercurio coming in, locking up, might have just got down to pit speed. Meanwhile, for Ryan Vargas, it is going to be full service for car number 30. He heads back out onto the racetrack. And now we watch Brian Mercurio coming down to the pit lane.
Mercurio will not get a speeding penalty. He did stop in time. He did slow down in time for that pit entry line.
And what does Matt Kemp do? He's going to come on in.
Right sides for Mercurio. Do the left sides go up? Yes, they do.
Mercurio there, 4 tires as well, full service. That one lap for Ryan Vargas on the 41 likely won't do much, but it'll be 2 laps on the 54 of Kemp. I think that is actually going to do something here. Vargas going to grab some time back and get closer, at the very least, to maybe a little more equidistant now between our leaders up front.
It's all the time for Mercurio to stop being a 14.6 versus the time for Vargas being a 14.3. So that will help greatly. Let's see what Matt Kemp gets here. Also full service for him. Left side's drop. He's out of the box. 14.3.
Michael Frisch still on the racetrack, leading the race now over Sean Butler and Cy Bowen. Aaron Smith has stayed out over the course of this cycle. As now our leaders coming together. There's Matt Kemp up out of turn 2. Brian Mercurio passing him now. Where is Ryan Vargas? The next car behind Kemp, actually, in the 30 car. How about that? So he definitely pulled some time. He's not going to leapfrog the 54, but he's closer. And we saw early struggles, early to mid-run for the 54 car. We might see a fight here soon.
See, Vargas last lap time 30.3 at the start finish line versus Mercurio's 30.4. So he's about roughly a 10th-ish faster.
On board with Ryan Vargas, currently running in 12th in the midst of this pit cycle. And these are really the first green flag pit stops we've seen all season long, at least in this kind of regard, where there's a big-time split strategy in the stage. So you're seeing a proper, I think, NASCAR green flag pit cycle take place, where these guys are on all different pages. You have some guys that are really trying to extend it, and we had some of that at Kansas last week, but of course, technical difficulties in the broadcast. They be what they be sometimes, as we're really getting dicey here out of turn 2.
Now, a thing to keep in mind is that, of course...
Whoa!
Oh, wow.
Cy Bowen at the racetrack. Corey Heim dives underneath him. Cy lost the nose big time. There goes Kemp on by. And, yeah, the 17, I think, showing why you need new tires at a stage in the, in the stage. Big time tight again there. Going to allow Ryan Vargas to go on through, but not without a bit of a cheek clencher.
Surprised he went to the inside.
Yeah, that was interesting. I think he thought Cy was going to keep going up the racetrack, and yeah, I mean, you can see why. Gets real tight there again in 3 and 4.
He has not pit. Yeah, he's probably holding out for a caution, but if he does, well, I mean, the entire, from 7th place on back, the entire field is a lap down. We're not going to, Michael Frisch, Sean Butler, Cy Bowen, and Austin Moore have not gone to pit road. Aaron Smith technically has gone to pit road, sure, but that was only under caution for the first caution that we had. And that was for fuel as well, 4.9 second stop. So what happens here is my next question.
Well, here's a look at your race leader currently, Michael Frisch. Then Sean Butler back here is currently second as they run, as Corey Heim will drive on by. And yeah, Cy Bowen pitting. The effective leader is going to be Brian Mercurio, and that's not a surprise at all, as actually he's racing with Leighton Sabile, who pitted 7 laps earlier. I think we're seeing just how much an undercut can do in being that we're on the verge of being a 2-stop, as there goes Frisch into the pit lane along with Butler. I'd say stage 2, right, it's 90 laps. These guys can go about 50, 45 to 50. That's a 1-stop, you'd say, right? But that's really, really close, I think, to tires potentially making a difference and making it a 2-stop. I don't know that anybody's going to do it. I don't think it's really going to work out unless you're lightning quick. But it's at least something to think about, maybe. Crunch some numbers if you got somebody who can crunch numbers for you. Unfortunately, I can't crunch numbers, and I don't know if these guys can do that behind the wheel. But it would certainly be worth looking into as Corey Heim goes on by Chris Wetz. Again, somebody who pitted about 5 laps earlier than Corey Heim, 4 laps earlier. Wetz pulled a bunch of time and is throwing a big-time wrench in these guys' run.
Especially with 2 tires versus 4. I mean, I feel like 4 would just be a default option, considering especially the fact that having a lopsided fresh tires, fresh on the left side, or fresh on the right side, and then lopsided on the left or worn down on the left side, it just will not help the car at all. It'll help your car rotate, but maybe just a bit too much.
Here comes Matt Kemp, a big run here on Chris Wetz, and as we're thinking, I think it's still a 1-stop for stage 2. I don't think, especially with the laps we're running at the beginning of the stage, it'll make it really an 85-lap stage. I mean, would you go for 2? Would you try to run just tires and make up all this time? Because we're seeing there is definitely a lot of fall off, and an undercut will pull some time. I just don't know if it'll pull enough.
I don't know. I think it'd be I mean, if you really want to go aggressive and you're sure about how your tire's going to perform, I'd say go for a 2-tire stop, but otherwise, I'd just take the 4 tires and gain that extra speed as well.
On board with Ryan Vargas, there was a puff of smoke there in the corner. That was a little bit odd, a little bit disconcerting, but as we ride around with 12 laps to go in stage 1, your effective race leader is currently 4th on the racetrack, and Ryan Vargas just dove to the inside of Leighton Sabile, and that will be good for the effective, we'll call it, 5th position ahead of the 25 car.
Austin Moore way too hot on pit road. I'm not sure if he just escaped a speeding penalty or not, but he finally does go to pit road, his first stop of the race at lap 48.
He was definitely waiting on a caution to see if he could grab some track position and make some noise this evening, but the driver that I think had the most lackluster first round of the playoffs, unfortunately, not going to be much of a factor in stage 1, it looks like. Still has time for stage 2, as here comes Austin Moore, it looks like, to the pit lane. Sorry, not Austin Moore. That's who just pitted, but Anthony Rotolo in car 5 coming on down.
Now the only driver left to pit really is Aaron Smith, but he's a solid 18 seconds ahead of Brian Mercurio. Lap time is about a second per lap of a difference, so maybe Aaron could make it to the end of the stage and come out on top. We'll see.
Do you think he would have saved? Oh, man, he got tight. Real tight there behind the 99. And do you think he saved fuel? Do you think he's saving fuel? Let's go on board with him and see what he does here. Watch the dash. Watch the RPMs. He's not clutching. He is leaving it in 5th gear, which will save a little bit of fuel as opposed to 4th.
Yeah, he did still have the those 4.9 seconds of a pit stop, so more than likely fuel, and that's about it. And that's from the first caution, so it could be possible that he comes out on top of the stage, but I'm not sure because that gap is very rapidly closing. About 1.2 second of the time difference, and 1.1 seconds faster is Brian Mercurio.
Oh, Cy Bowen, what a move! And here we go. Here we go. Aaron Smith into the pit lane. That was not going to make it. Wow, what a pit entry.
He still made it.
Certainly keeping it exciting, but now Brian Mercurio is going to come around the corner, and we've got ourselves a fight for the Stage 1 win. It's not going to have an effect in the championship any further than track position for the beginning of stage number 2. Everybody pitting, nobody staying out or trying any kind of awkward strategy to eliminate a pit stop. So it is just these 3 guys running it out for 8 more laps. Now, of these 3 guys, Matt Kemp pitted last, but is that 1 lap going to make a difference here, Gary? I don't think so.
Not that much of a difference, I don't think. It will have to come down to his actual pace.
Well,
and he's got like Corey Heim.
Yeah, Corey got real tight that time in 3 and 4. Opens the door maybe for Kemp this lap. No, not in the turn 1 at the very least. The 54 going to have to wait, as that was 7 laps to go on the stage. And again, it's the white number tiles on your screen that are fighting for the championship as these guys close in on the driver who I thought had the best chance to win it this evening, Zach Nichols. Drop of the green flag, buzzes the rear tires, takes a bit of a crash there with Anthony Rotolo, and is now 1 lap down within stage 1 as Brian Mercurio goes on by. What a tragic turn of events for Zach Nichols. I really thought he was going to win this championship, and quite frankly, I think Mercurio, the best driver in this field now, with the advent of Nichols well behind the 8 ball, although Kemp did just pass Corey Heim while all of that happened with Nichols.
Yeah, Kemp had just snuck right by as Heim is pretty much almost wall riding the outside there on the entry of turn 3. Just barely keeps it off the wall off turn 4 by the looks of it, but now that puts Matt Kemp in line for the first place position for stage 1. So we'll see how this fares when it comes to these 2 between Mercurio and Kemp. Although for Zach Nichols, I believe he actually still is at the moment he's the first driver a lap down, so he's going to be hoping for a caution here.
Yeah, and really none of these guys are within range of being lapped. I don't think Aaron Smith would be the next car these guys would catch, the race leaders anyway, and he's 5 seconds, 6 seconds ahead of these guys, so I don't think they're catching him within the 4 laps to go here in stage number 1. Mercurio, high, wide, and handsome that time, up to the wall in 1 and 2, and I feel like the top side is great in 1 and 2 if you know how to run it at Charlotte, but you got to go right back down to the bottom or at least the middle in 3 and 4. It's just not going to work, as for sure. There goes Mercurio back down to the bottom side of the racetrack. It was okay in 1 and 2. It's not so great in 3 and 4. It's a tighter radius of the corner, and it's a lot more difficult to make happen up there.
On this point, pit road is closed. 2 laps before the stage end.
So that was 3.
Backs off. Oh, is it 3?
Yeah, 3 laps to go in the stage. We'll have 2 to go this time by as Jake Flume and Michael Frisch fight somewhere around this racetrack. And hey, how about Joel Smith, Ryan Vargas fighting here for the 4th position? I believe this is Vargas making the pass. It's going to be tough, though. And there goes Joel.
Depending on their restart, depending on what they do for pitting especially, if they even decide to pit, this will put Vargas on the inside lane for the restart, but he's going to try and look for the outside lane apparently.
Well, that's if they come out in the same order that they go in, and I highly doubt that will be the case. These guys have plenty of tires, by the way. They will use these tires up under yellows. They have 5 sets in the pit lane. They've already used 1 of them. Still 4 more sets in the pit lane for these guys to put on and off the car as we take the white flag in stage number 1. Can Matt Kemp get there? Does Matt Kemp want to get there?
He's definitely trying. He's on the power.
Remember,
get the run there.
As far as the championship, this means nothing. It's a matter of finishing position for all 4 championship drivers. So, this time through turns 3 and 4, an easy-looking stage win, but it was anything but for Brian Mercurio as he will take the green and white checkered flag. Stage 1 complete. It goes to car 41 from pole position this evening. There goes the rest of the top 10 on by as Sean Butler will take the final position in stage 1 points. And the rest of the field, they still get stage points. It's just the top 4 that really have no effect from it, despite Mercurio winning it.
Yeah, technically the Championship 4 does earn stage points, but also technically not really. They earn it, but it's kind of, what's the word? I believe the word is encumbered in this case.
Encumbered, what a fun word.
It's a very strange word.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. As stage 1 comes to a close. I don't think anybody could have predicted it going about the way it did. Zach Nichols, a big crash lap 1. definitely was not on my bingo card for the evening. And now we get to watch this round of pit stops, this time by, I believe, pits should be open. As, Nichols taking the lucky dog early, goes by the field there. That got real close with Joel Smith. But we're going to have a chance to watch pit stops unfold. We don't usually see too many rounds of pit stops with the entire field, so I think pits should be open this time by. And here comes the field, Gary.
I'll see, here goes everyone except for a couple lap cars, but everyone is going to be on their way in. It's the fun part where you decide, all right, do I take 2 tires? Do I take 4? Because we got to very much keep everything in mind. There's no stages after this. It's just to run right to the end. Kemp is right on the back bumper of Mercurio.
Maximizing time in the pit lane. And Mercurio straight through his box. He was early to reverse, though. It's just, yeah, that's already the lead gone for Brian Mercurio. He already knows it for sure. Car 30, Ryan Vargas, where is he going to be in all of this? Left side's up. There goes Heim. And out of the pit lane, where's car 54? First off, just beating the 11. That said, you know who's leading currently under this yellow? At least for the moment?
Zach Nichols.
Yes, Zach Nichols, at least for the short time being, is your race leader. That's not going to last too long, though. He's definitely going to come in and pit, as he is the only car other than Anthony Rotolo and Jonathan Palmieri and Austin Moore. I don't know why I keep mixing up Anthony's this evening, but Austin Moore, not yet to pit. You can see those guys waiting on a wave around to get back onto the lead lap, or at least get 1 lap back, and that would be huge for Palmieri. I think he'll be able to get back onto the lead lap under this yellow, but 3 laps down going into this stage break. Now, while we wait for this all to cycle back through, we will take a quick Pit Stop TV side-by-side, potentially the final one of the season, and we'll be right back with Stage 2 getting underway from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Welcome back to the virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. 85 laps, the effective Stage 2 distance, at least from the drop of this incoming green flag. to begin stage number 2. Everybody pitted. Everybody has new tires and new Sunoco race fuel in their NASCAR Next Gen vehicles. And the iRacing.com safety car lights have just been turned back on, and you see the field kind of backing off. We thought we were going green, Gary, but this now takes some laps off the distance, makes it a surefire, I'd say, one stop to the end.
For sure. I think it was a couple drivers that had yet to catch up, and Race Control was noticing that, giving everyone some time. So good on them. That's a really good call, I feel like, instead of having people be at risk of getting a flag just because some people just weren't able to catch up. So
what
this
does do is give Aaron Smith another chance to come back into the pit lane and get more fuel, along with Doug DeNice, it looks like, and Anthony Rotolo. So a chance for these guys to top off, and I don't think the guys up front would have had the same opportunity. So should we get into a fuel mileage situation, I don't think that's likely, but should we get into one of those situations, well, look at who just topped off. And remember that. Remember cars 40 and 70, as the 5 of Rotolo has a lot of damage. I don't think he'll be a factor, unfortunately, in car 5. But we do have pace car lights off. Let's take a look at how we got here over the course of the evening. 2 cautions for 9 laps. One of those off the start for Zach Nichols. The other for the stage break. 6 lead changes, though, over the course of that pit cycle. And a look at the schedule to get here this season, Gary. A lot of great races. Looking back now, which one stands out to you the most?
It has been one heck of a season, and if anything, I want to be biased and say Wilkesboro because it was Wilkesboro, but Martinsville was a pretty solid race, I feel like. It was chaotic, there was everyone getting pretty much punched down, and the best drivers had managed to survive that one.
I think Talladega stands out as the most pivotal race of the season, looking back at it with the implications that it had on the playoffs. Matt Kemp into the Geico restart zone will get this race restarted for us. Make it now 84 laps to go effectively as we take the green flag. Couple of cars getting out there towards the outside wall. It was side by side for second for a moment. They've sorted it out now. Corey Heim in behind in third spot. Now you've got Leighton Sabile looking to the inside of Joel Smith and Ryan Vargas, the bottom now of the 3 championship competitors that we're going to say are in contention. He's got a wall of 2 Chevrolets right out front, and there goes Sabile through on the bottom side. That means the door is going to open for the Pit Pass Network Toyota Camry.
Like that, Vargas is now up into 5th place once again. Everyone has single filed themselves out, but Vargas just lurking in the mirror of the 25, but he does slide up quite a lot actually in turns 3 and 4.
Oh!
Not loose. What a save, though.
Yeah, came right back nearly into the nose of the 9 car and almost got himself turned around. Glad he caught and hung on to that car. That could have been messy. Out of the 4th corner, as now Vargas again kind of pops up early out of turn 2. He's just got to manage the center of the corner a little better, I feel like.
That's a much better turn 3.
Oh, Sabile! Wow! Oh, they're all trying to catch it. Beautiful driving out of those 2 guys, Ryan Vargas and Leighton Sabile alike, as Joel Smith is trying to find somewhere to go. Clears the 25 down into turn 1. Sabile now backing up to Andrew Schwartz and Sean Butler and Chris Wetz, even 3 Ford Mustangs, nearly 3 abreast there out of the corner. And they eventually sorted out. A lot of great fighting throughout the course of this field, but as we get stage 2 underway, you saw the big pit mistake for Brian Mercurio that has put himself behind the mark now with exactly 80 laps to go at this point, as Melillo's got trouble down through the grass. And he will find his way back onto the track, but he's going 80 miles per hour trying to get back up to speed.
He did avoid the inside wall, luckily, and he did stay out of pit road, so no harm, no foul.
Take a look back at it for Justin Melillo, car 53. A little ways back here, still in his series throwback. And let's see what happened here to car 53, running behind Cy Bowen out of turn 4. The same thing Sabile did, and wow. That could have gone poorly.
Just managed to hang on to it, too. Fantastic car control.
one more shot of this as these guys run green. This is going to be a really cool shot, I think, out of turn 4 from trackside. Watch this. The 53 comes straight at you, spins around. Wow. But hey, a nice little 360 gets back going.
Yeah, style points, essentially. I'd say. He did mention the pit mistake, and that we did see. I'll get to that in a second, because Zach Nichols is being swarmed by anybody and everybody here in the back of the field. I think he's fine. Michael Frisch is lurking right there as well. I don't think he's okay. I think he's actually, well, no, Zach Nichols is doing quite a bit better. He is making his way through the field. He is
Look at the
13.
pit. Oh!
Contact between Taylor and Frisch, they both got loose as well. That was close. All three of them saved it.
The pit timer shows they took a lot more repairs that last stop under that yellow, so he's at least closer to the mark. I don't know that he's hitting the mark by any means. I think that car is still underpowered and certainly underperforming, but he's at least a little better, and if we get into a short run scenario at the end, he might be able to hold his own on fresh tires, so we'll have to wait and see. It might not be completely over for the 45.
I think he is on pace because, well, I'll wait until this time. This time by, I might avoid that lap time, but 30.5 at the start-finish line. He is kind of busy battling everybody right to the outside wall. Last time around, he had a 30.3, and that's essentially matching everybody else in the field, and most notably the leaders of Kemp and Mercurio.
Yeah, but that's also in the draft. I think if you were to put these guys in the racetrack single file, he'd still be a little off pace. Problem still, I think, going on for the 45 as Butler gets into the fence there out of turn 4. Pistana gets loose in the back. Oh boy, these guys are keeping it exciting, that's for sure, throughout the entire field as we eclipse halfway. 75 down, 75 to go. And Joel Smith looks to the inside of the 23 of Butler here. Your top two getting away as Butler shaves the fence once more.
I guess Butler doing a bit of impromptu safety barrier, safer barrier inspection, but it works, and so does the right side of his car luckily. That's held up very well.
It's worth mentioning, I'd say, that Ryan Vargas is ahead of these guys as Butler is going to find his way to the inside there of Leighton Sabile and fight to the 5th position, or at least for it, as Butler got loose that time out of turn 2. The 23 is hanging it out there. He's definitely racing hard.
I mean, hey, he doesn't really have much to lose, so might as well go all out and go for it and see what you can get here. It's working, that is for sure, because now he's up to 5th place.
You see Ryan Vargas in 4th position as this run goes on. He's taking a couple of spots away, I think learning a lot and fine-tuning his craft for sure, this next-gen car here at Charlotte. Of course, he's got experience in cars here, in the NASCAR Xfinity Series and NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. This is, of course, a whole different beast, right? And, we know that Corey Heim is building on his NASCAR career, it seems like, every weekend as well. But this is a different beast. It's on the sim. You don't have the same feel in the car. It's difficult to have the same expectations for those guys to go out and do it in the real world because this is just so different between the car being different and it being the sim versus the real thing. I think we're seeing that. Here comes Sean Butler.
I was gonna say, let's see how it fares. Vargas has Butler on the inside lane. A bit of a bobble, I think, for both of them, but very quick and easy pass on the inside lane.
From high above with the blimp, Sabile takes a look inside, is going to stay in behind at least for turns 1 and 2 here on lap number 80. Now back up to our leaders. We were talking about this briefly earlier, and Mercurio slid through his box in the pit lane, took a little bit of extra time, and it was only about 0.7 of a second or so. That was just enough to lose the spot and lose 2 spots.
Interestingly enough, I also was going to bring up to you that Matt Kemp's pit time, or time in his box, was 14.6 seconds. So I think Kemp essentially got pretty lucky there from Mercurio's mistake.
You see here 14.02 for Mercurio. For the 54 of Kemp, 14.66. And that is still faster than Corey Heim's stop and shows why Kemp beat Heim out by 1/10 of a second. But Mercurio did have a very quick pit stop. I wonder if Mercurio maybe tried to, on the fly, underfuel the car by just a little bit to try and save for that, knowing that he still has to pit, and these guys are going to have a little bit of leniency just by a couple of laps.
See, it's not really the worst idea to try and fuel at least the 45 laps to go mark, so you underfuel the car a little bit and just worry about that full fuel for the end of the race. And he's definitely sticking with Matt Kemp. It's just that he's not been able to really, he's haven't really been able to entirely pass each other. So we'll see how things fare, but they are definitely in a world of their own here.
And this line does not get any less exciting. Corey Heim backing up to these guys ever so slightly. Sean Butler, Ryan Vargas, Leighton Sabile, Joel Smith, and Andrew Schwartz. And I mentioned coming into this evening on the grid, Andrew Schwartz has the most laps completed of any driver in the field. It is only by 1 or 2. But the most laps completed, I think I'd say the most consistent driver, certainly by that stat, at just finishing races. And I want to give Andrew a mention here. He has been consistent all season long, consistently up in the top 10, I'd say is a safe way to put it. Hasn't always had top 5 speed, and I think that's why he's out of the championship for, why he didn't really get all that close to begin with, unfortunately. But he made the playoffs, and I think was strong in a couple of races, certainly at Talladega. It just didn't pan out.
Yeah, he definitely shows that he does have the pace for sure. It's better to be consistent and lose out on that consistency rather than be inconsistent and lose out because of being inconsistent, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does.
Yes, and
Makes sense
wow.
in my head.
Well, look at these guys fighting for the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th positions. Cy Bowen with company from Michael Frisch as they fight now down the backstretch side by side. Gabe Herschel and Chris Wetz in tow. And of course, this is the championship finale, Gary, but these guys are racing so close back here. We can't not pay attention because these guys at any point in time could crash and really seriously affect the rest of this race.
Zach Nichols is sitting right in the background as well, so if I was him, I'd be a little bit worried, but yeah, we can't just because...
Oh, no! Zach Nichols, as we mentioned him, turns around. More trouble for the 45 car as he goes for a spin and nearly gets hit 3 or 4 times. I will say, all things considered, to be turned around in the middle of the field like that in 1 and 2, he did a pretty darn good job of saving it.
That is the most awkwardly timed incident to happen. I will be seeing myself very silently to the corner because that is
man.
That is the most unfortunate timing. I thought that's not top 10 for commentators, Chris, but maybe that's with me. That's oh man.
Watch it here. This is the lap prior. It's going to happen down in turns 1 and 2. We were just talking about the guys ahead and saying how they could have crashed at any point in time, and it might affect Zach Nichols especially. And then down here in turns 1 and 2, Manon Rahman just goes down to the inside, and I mean, it's literally just a racing deal. But what a great job. There's a little bit of contact that wasn't really shown from the previous angle. A little bit of contact, all things considered. Wow, he's lucky.
I'd say Manon Rahman definitely got the best view out of that, essentially. But yeah, that's definitely just a racing thing. It's one of those, oh, you want like 2 inches of this lane? Oh, so I'm sorry, I didn't know you wanted that. So, wow. That definitely could have been a lot worse. Great heads up driving by all 3 drivers to avoid Zach Nichols as well up on the outside.
The onboard here from Manon Rahman just gets into the left rear.
Barely. They're both moving down too, but...
Oh, and he throttled back up. I think in hindsight, certainly should have stayed off the throttle there, but Manon still a fantastic job of dropping anchor and not making that any worse, as we have got pit stops. Drivers just left the pit lane, actually, and Matt Kemp is first out. Aaron Smith, remember how we mentioned him? Well, he didn't save fuel, but he did just take less fuel, is now second.
7 seconds. I'm genuinely not sure if he did not take... Nope, he did not take tires. He definitely did not take tires.
It's going to have a huge effect. As Anthony Rotolo, you can see staying out, will go to the rear by virtue of the lucky dog. So it's Kemp, Smith, and Mercurio, your top 3. Vargas is going to end up 6th, it looks like.
That will be the case, yeah. He'll be starting up on the outside lane. Not technically... Well, actually, yeah, he's going to be one of the only actually playoff contender to start off on the outside lane here, at least compared to Kemp and Mercurio. Oh, wait, no, maybe not. There goes Smith to pit road.
Yeah, I don't think that was ever going to work out. I don't know if that was an attempt just to try and get a lap led, but I think that was a wise decision by Aaron to come back in.
And it's just for more fuel. All right, that's interesting. He's definitely saving sets of tires. You might be expecting another crash here, but topping off, was it lap 90 out of 150? 91 when we go green, just about, I believe.
If the rest of this caution goes to plan.
Let me see, that should be, what, 60 laps? 50? No, 60.
60. I don't think you're stretching it. I really don't think there's going to be any stretching it.
No, he's definitely not stretching. I was wondering if he knew something that we didn't, at least. But we'll see how that fares for him. I'm very intrigued. He's definitely saving sets of tires. There's no doubt behind that.
I still think there's plenty of tires. I mean, we have 60 laps to go when we go back green, or thereabouts. Call it 59, maybe 58. These guys have only pit 3 times. That's only half their sets. And we are a decent ways past halfway now. I know we can certainly change the story here if we get a few yellows, and things can change as far as the tire strategy, but I really don't see these guys going through 3 more sets.
Yeah, I don't see it. Unless someone is really, really confident that their tires will make it, that newer tires will make it by X amount of laps, but I don't know. I don't see it. Technical's 40 seconds. He's still repairing some leftover damage, no doubt.
Nichols going to come around and join the field, it looks like. Well, Matt Kemp, Brian Mercurio, your front row, both in the championship fight. Then you've got a row of spoilers. Corey Heim, Sean Butler, before Ryan Vargas and Joel Smith join us from row 3. Vargas fighting for a championship, and I know those Pit Pass Network guys are still watching. I'd love to know what they're thinking right now. This is definitely going to be an underdog story, I think, just based on the way the rest of the race has gone. But Ryan's still very capable here. He's just got to put the right pieces together, I think, save the right amount of tires, and it might take being in the right place at the right time. It might take catching the pit cycle for a caution. I don't know yet, but it's going to be an interesting race to see what Ryan can do. I think a little bit of an underdog. Kemp and Mercurio have been fantastic today, but Ryan in a really good spot. We're going to ride this restart for the green flag here. On board with Ryan Vargas in car 30, restarting from 5th. Down to the Geico restart zone. Awaiting the green flag from the flag stand, and we are back green. 60 laps to go in the UFL Elite Series at Charlotte. Oh, Matt Kemp, hard of the fence. And that changes everything. He has completely destroyed that race car. Others crashing to try and miss it. Cy Bowen is in trouble, but your championship leader at time of restart has just taken himself out.
Wow. I don't even know what happened there. He must have gotten loose. That's
junk.
You know, I'm not an expert, but I don't think the wheel is supposed to be in that direction. But that's very unfortunate for Matt Kemp. That is pretty much a race over for him, I think.
Got a fantastic restart, a bump at the right time from Corey Heim. Really put the 54 out there. And let's see what happens here. In fact, let's go on board and wash the hands of Matt Kemp. Just got free. Wow.
Wow.
So unfortunate. Just a little too much wheel, maybe. I don't even know. I don't think he did anything wrong. The car just came around.
It looks fine here, and then it just loses traction.
And the 17 and 71, it looks like, crashed down to the inside. Chris Wett, Cy Bowen. There's Cy coming to a sliding halt. Wow.
That was close to throttle up.
Well, let's watch this from the onboard of Cy Bowen briefly. He restarted inside the top 10. And they were almost 3 wide. Wow, this was entirely auxiliary. We were going to have a caution there regardless.
I don't know. I think the 71 had slowed up because of the seeing smoke off the corner.
That's a possibility. How'd it look from the guy who's going to benefit from all this, Brian Mercurio, his perspective? Wow.
Ooh, that is terrifying as well from the point of view of Mercurio, because you see that and you hope, oh gosh. Well, actually, that's what you think. You just think, oh gosh, because you see that happen, and suddenly that car in front of you is no longer in front of you.
Inches away from it being Ryan Vargas' championship. Let's watch this in slow-mo. Watch the 54 just change course and how close this could have been. Wow.
Ooh.
Wow. Well, Gary, I would say that certainly changes everything. We've seen 2 championship contenders fall at their own hands. And Matt Kemp certainly is done. And you can see the injured 54 on pit lane. His crew guys just having a chat about how much work they're going to have to do at the end of the day. And how many laps he will not be completing here to the end. 57 shy of checkered flag.
That's really, really unfortunate by man. Making it to the final 4, then suddenly the car just decides, you know what, you don't need any grip anymore. And then suddenly you're in the outside wall and all your hopes go up in, well, the piece of a fender left over in turn 3 somewhere. And a very, very broken right front suspension.
Bit of a 4-wide salute here under caution, as Brian Mercurio is now matching the amount of laps led that Matt Kemp had put up in that run, where he had been leading since the beginning of stage number 2. That was such a clutch moment as well in the pit lane. It's really a shame that moment now is relatively irrelevant. That Matt Kemp getting that spot, perfect pit stop, right when he needed it to be perfect over Mercurio, is kind of gone to waste. All it took was that little bit of step out from the rear of the car, and he's in the fence. He's done.
And I'm still speechless. Now there's... I mean, at this point, I would say technically 2, but I mean, at this rate, who knows what can happen with Mercurio and Vargas. I'd be a bit worried at the odds of avoiding a wreck if I were those 2. Or not being the wreck in the first place.
It's tough to say what's going to happen here to the end. 55 laps to go when we go back green. And quite frankly, Ryan Vargas has been the 3rd best car of the day. I wish I could say more encouraging words right now. He's just not been as good as Brian Mercurio. But you know what? Ryan knew that going in, I think. He mentioned it in his interviews last week at Kansas Speedway. He knew how much of a threat the 41 car was going to be. They called him out, last week's winner, Brian Mercurio, as the guy to beat. I think you see why.
Yes, especially considering how Mercurio had done not only last week, but also Coda, and so far his performance in this race as well. That car is just absolutely, it's strong, and so is Mercurio himself. It's not only the car, it's also, of course, Mercurio himself.
Yeah, his one slip-up of the evening was in pit lane, and that's... If you're going to have a slip-up, pit lane probably the one place you want to have it. Yeah, you can still recover from that, as we've seen. Now with car 41, he's going to lead us to the green flag with 55 laps to go. Your top 16 cars staying on the racetrack under this yellow. Joel Smith, Carson Powers, the first cars to pit under this caution period. And into the Geico restart zone one more time. The entire field bunching up. 55 laps to go. What a launch there from Mercurio. Corey Heim, Leighton Sabile, teammates from Hog Tamers fighting out of turn number 2. Sean Butler a run to the outside of the 25 car. And Ryan Vargas pulled on the entry to 3, but washes up.
It's going to be in the clutches of Corey Heim. We'll see where Corey Heim goes. So far, just sits right on the back bumper as they're side by side for, what is that, 10?
Every position behind third, it looks like, almost, as the whole field was racing. Fluman briefly was nearly taking the Roval chicane up out of turn number 4. Thought there was going to be a bigger moment, but thankfully kept it where it needed to be. As here goes Zach Nichols, maybe fully back under power as he makes a big move to the inside of Tristan Hagenstein. And for the first time, literally all race, the 45 is making quality green flag passes.
See, and he's in the top 10 for the first time since his start crash, essentially. Not even restart, but his crash on lap 1, running not necessarily the outside lane, but the middle lane. He's doing great.
Yeah, he's carrying that momentum, the little momentum that he has right now. I still think that car is a little bit off. I think that motor's still a little bit off, but he's at least a whole lot closer. Clearly is serviceable at least to get into the top 10 as one car goes way to the inside. Leighton Sabile way down there, hopping up over the turf and into turn 1. That's going to get sketchy. Everybody misses him. Oh, Bowers nearly into Bowen. We keep racing.
Wow.
All right. We've had some excitement, that's for sure.
That was a save and a half, that is for sure.
Lap 100.
This is why people advocate for turf as well, so cars don't have their splitters destroyed. Now, granted, it's a better case in real life, but man, but look at this. Wait, Vargas is actually caught up. He's catching Brian Mercurial as well for first.
Yeah, now that Ryan, I think, has the best chance he's had all night to study what Brian is doing. He is a race car driver. He's able to sit there and, I think, certainly infer as to what Brian is doing behind the wheel, maybe with his feet as well, to try and pick up on what the 41 car has got that nobody else has right now. Able to just study and watch Brian, learn a little bit, see if he can use that to his advantage as we take 50 laps to go. We're into the final third of this final race of the season. Ryan, a great run here out of turn 2. Nowhere to go with it just yet. He sits in line behind the 41 car. I feel like you have to stay in line. You have to stay on the bottom side right now, at least until about lap 10 or 12, maybe even 15 of the run. But at the same time, I feel like it hinders what these guys could potentially do on a one-lap basis. If they were to send it around the outside, I feel like one lap they probably could, but it would destroy their tires.
Yeah, so it's really it's a good line, but it's not a good permanent line. It's of course why you see everyone running all single file to the inside lane right now, just trying to get themselves acquainted once again, get the tires warmed up, and we'll have to wait and see how this plays out in the next 5-10 laps. Especially considering actually we're very close to the pretty much estimated fuel window of 45 laps. So I wonder if anyone decides to pit early.
I don't think you can. You can't risk it. You'd end up being potentially a lap down. And you just can't risk being in that kind of position in case a caution comes out. Yes, you can fight back from it, but it's not worth the bumpy road that you'd have to go through. You've got to stay up front. You want to take maybe a 2 or 3 lap undercut. You really don't want to mess with a 20 lap undercut, potentially 25 laps. I think you got to wait until probably 30, 25 to go, somewhere in that range, as Matt Kemp is back on track in car 54. I'll be honest, Gary, that is a lot earlier than I ever expected.
Yeah, I didn't think he'd be out so soon, to be honest, but we'll see. Oh, Vargas to the inside for the lead.
Ryan Vargas for P1 gets tight in the center of 3 and 4. Washed back up. Mercurio takes it back away. Maybe a mulligan for Ryan Vargas. But here comes Michael Frisch to the inside of Corey Heim. This for position number 3. And Corey Heim is quickly done away with by car 58. You know who else has been fantastic on intermediates this season? Michael Frisch. He won at Las Vegas way back when, the first true intermediate of the season, as Corey shoves his way back in line in 3rd spot. That was beautiful.
That's like a pseudo.
But it's not gonna work. Here comes Frisch. Didn't last for long.
Right to the quarter panel too.
Wow, this is really good stuff. This might be the best display of talent from the entire field so far this season, at least in one of these intermediate tracks. This kind of style of racing. We didn't see many intermediates on the schedule, and I think this the best one.
It's going absolutely fantastic for Frisch as he bobbles right when I say that, just barely avoids contact. Heim gets a little bit loose off turn 4. They still stay side by side, and still staying directly behind them is Sean Butler, just telling each and every race, either one of them, can one of you please just go forward already?
And finally, Frisch does clear the 11 car. But that might not be all she wrote, as now Sean Butler has a fair chance here at Corey Heim. Corey going to send it up top through the middle. A couple of cars bottoming out. I'm not sure if that was Brian or Ryan.
That was Brian, and he just had a bit of a proof from existence, so to speak, but he's all right.
And now the bar visuals 58 all over the back end of Ryan Vargas. This for second spot. I don't know how rough these guys are going to get, though. I will say, Sean Butler and Michael Frisch, they've seemed like Ryan Vargas fans throughout the course of this season. I don't know how physical, I don't know how much they're actually going to race the 30 car with 40 laps to go in the championship fight, with the two guys fighting for the championship on their nose in their windshield.
Man, I don't know. It's a very difficult choice, essentially, as we see so from leftover lone spin. Might have been Chris Wetz, but
I think it was, yeah.
Stay going forward. But,
I think it was Chris Wetz.
I feel like if Frisch and Butler, if they feel like they're confident enough to have pace to go even for the lead, I feel like that shouldn't stop them. Speaking of pace, the 54 is on significantly fresh tires, and somehow he's got some bit of speed to pass the leaders up on the outside.
Matt Kemp. Are you kidding me?
What? Is it the missing fender? It's probably the missing fender.
I mean, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Martinsville stuff right there, keeping the right front cool maybe. That was close into 3 as well, right on the right rear of Ryan Vargas. How in the world is Matt Kemp going purple here with all of that damage and no right front fender? There's no way that car is back to 100%, let alone 101%.
I'm very surprised that his wheel is even remotely straightened out after that, enough to do this.
Riding on board.
Huh.
That is, I think, the biggest hold my beer moment of the season.
He's got one. What pit crew does Matt Kemp have behind his wall?
Maybe it was the hood loopers. Malillo coming into the pit lane early here. We saw him, I believe, kick off that round of pit stops earlier as well. So watch for the rest of the field to take notice, as everything has changed, it feels like, all over again. Here comes Frisch to the inside of Vargas for turn 3, and they are going to race him. Gary, I'm surprised here. I really didn't expect this.
Look at Heim.
Unless we get a caution, this almost is a surefire nail in the coffin for car 30. This is big. These guys racing him slows him down already tenths off the 41 car. I'm really surprised by this.
Yeah, he's being slowed way down. I think Heim is going to be nope. Okay, I thought he was going to try and make it 3 wide with him and Butler, but not necessarily. Heim's thinking about it. He keeps looking to the inside. He's going to look to the very inside.
Wow.
He almost makes a staggered 3 wide. He'll get to the inside of Frisch now for P3.
What was nearly the demise, or maybe the worst nightmare for Ryan there, could have been 3 wide, him on the top side, ends up being a blessing in disguise as they get racing behind him, and he's back clear of those two, of Corey Heim and Michael Frisch, as they keep going at it. Oh, real close again out of turn number 2. We're coming up to 35 laps to go in a couple of laps. It'll be 36 this time by the flag stand. The pit window is very much open. Honestly, if I'm Ryan Vargas, I'd pit.
Especially now, I feel like at this point it's a bit of a warning sign to undercut now while you still have the chance, especially while it's still green. And if anything, you say the pit window's open, I feel like they're going to need more than just the green lights at pit road. We're going to need a massive pit open LED sign. We'll probably just steal the air from the back straight at Daytona.
What's holding these guys back, I think, is if we do get a caution, what happens? But you've got to take a chance. I think you simply have to. You're not
It's
going
not
to.
like the others. It's not the others don't need to pit either. Like,
Yeah.
you know they're going to pit.
The trouble for Ryan is if he pits, it might bring everybody else in. And, of course, if he pits right now, he's got Michael Frisch up his diffuser, if you will. But you've got to do something. You're not going to outrun Brian Mercurio at Charlotte, it looks like, with everything we've learned over the course of the afternoon. Now, he does pull a bunch that time down the backstretch. Pulled about nearly a tenth of a second. But eventually, you've got to do something different from what Brian is doing. And I think pitting early by about maybe 10 laps potentially is the way to go. You're going to pull so much time, 8/10 a lap right now. If these guys are running their best lap times, granted, that is in the draft, I still think fresh tires is the way to go.
Fresh tires will be the ultimate way to go,
Oh.
especially here as Vargas very much closed the door on the nose of Frisch there off turn number 2. And Frisch had no choice but to back out or else face the outside wall. Frisch is going to be shoving it to the inside. This is not going to go well. Wow, and Frisch is responding in kind with that turn 2 move.
Frisch back down to the inside of Ryan Vargas. And again,
Nichols to pit road.
that's actually really big for the 45 car. He's going to put himself in a really good spot, all things considered, once this cycles out, along with Sabile. As here goes Corey Heim to the inside, maybe of the 30 car. No. Vargas shuts the door. And up the racetrack he goes. He is so tight in the center of 3 and 4. Oh, but loose on exit.
Wow.
He's burning the right front.
Yeah, he's going to have to pit. He is pushing that car. He'll have to pit early. He's going to have to make a drastic move here.
Now down to third place, 7/10 back. I really think Ryan's about 3 or 4 laps late to pit. Of course, he's the one with the steering wheel. It's hard to go against him because he's got this wealth of experience. He's a fantastic sim racer, but I feel like you've got to do something different. You can't just wait for the pieces to fall in place. They've done so far with Nichols out, Kemp out. Now it's mano a mano, you versus Ryan Mercurio. You've got to do something different. That's just my opinion. We'll see how this works out, I suppose.
And of course, Vargas is he is running in the top 2 national series of NASCAR, Xfinity and the Truck Series. So, of course, he would know something that we do not, but he had to do something.
Tight again there in the center of 3 and 4. You can see him just back up. It's like he had to slow down extra compared to the rest of the guys he's racing, and here comes Butler on the outside. Meanwhile, I don't think we can talk this guy up enough. Brian Mercurio, only a couple of wins of the season. I think should have been another 1 or 2 maybe, for sure. Fantastic on the intermediates, really all skill tracks this season. The 41 has been in the conversation, has always been around, and has been beaten out in a couple of really good finishes this year. Really just unfortunate that he didn't have more wins. The same could be said, though, for just about anybody in the top 5 or 6 of the standings. I think the same could be said for Corey Heim. Same could be said for Ryan Vargas. Same could be said for Zach Nichols or even Matt Kemp. Probably should have had more wins, but that's the way it goes. That said, he has really taken control of these playoffs, put himself in the best spot, I think, to win this championship by far. I don't even think at this point. I know. He's out front by 7/10 of a second, Gary, and his competition is finally pitting. That's close. Wow.
Wow.
That was a lot closer than I think it looked from the TV camera.
And it was definitely a lot closer than it looked. Was he... Well, he might be fine.
I think he was just good, but here goes Ryan Vargas into his box.
55 at the line, but... Of
He
course
stopped on the mark.
He did slow down way quickly.
And here they come. The reaction from Michael Frisch and Sean Butler and Jonathan Taylor straight to pit lane along with Joel Smith. So they were waiting for halfway between lap 100 and 150. I think that is entirely too late for Ryan Vargas. But Mercurio is still on the racetrack now with minimal draft help. Granted, he is pulling on the back end of the 43 car Pistana. What does he do here in turns 3 and 4? Does he pit this time? Yes.
No penalty for Vargas as well.
Oh, that was a big lockup.
Wow.
Joel Smith into his box. And here comes potentially our champion in 25 more laps. That said,
45 at the line.
25 long laps to go. Let's see how this goes. On a time. Beautiful pit box entry. Up on the right sides, waiting on the lefts. The money stop, for sure. The most important of the season for Brian Mercurio. How is it going to go? There goes Corey Heim. A 2-tire stop, it looks like, from the 11 is going to change things big time. He's trying to go for this last race win. Mercurio, though, up out of the pit lane. Where is Ryan Vargas? Clear of him. Ryan took 2.
Yeah, it didn't click until I saw the time. It's like, wait a minute, Ryan took only 2 tires. He took only right sides.
As there's a big battle with Frisch into turn 3 on Zach Nichols and Leighton Sabile. That was close. So Brian Mercurio, turn 3, turn 4 now. Let's see where he comes around to the line. And then search for the 30 car of Ryan Vargas, who is over in turns 1 and 2. This is huge. So he didn't undercut, but he did by 2 laps. But he took a big-time chance here. I love this attempt from Ryan Vargas. 24 laps to go, 23 this time by. He is effectively the race leader at the moment, but Manon Rahman right behind him. Jonathan Taylor, they're on the same strategy. Rahman pitted earlier. Taylor pitted 1 lap later. Corey Heim, also in the picture, pitted 2 laps after Ryan Vargas and did the same exact thing, 2 tires.
I wonder. I mean, we were talking earlier about...
He had to do something.
Yeah, not only that, but also just like if drivers were really willing to take 2 tires, and well, some are, that's for sure.
And I'm surprised it's working this well. And maybe it's because it's straight back on the racetrack, green conditions, but you know, anytime I've taken 2 tires in an official race, Heim gets into Jonathan Taylor big time there in 1 and 2. But anytime I've taken 2 tires recently in oval racing, it's gone poorly. Man. Don't have this be a caution at the end of the race, guys. This is not worth it.
Yeah, I don't think Taylor was really too happy. Maybe push up because it's tight. The car's not... Oh, wow.
Come on, guys.
Oh, careful.
Come on, guys.
Please.
Back off each other, and there they go. Into turn 1. They have settled it for the moment, I think. A little bit of door banging back and forth. We love to see the emotion, but right now, let's not spoil the championship. Let's not spoil the championship. Oh, contact into 3. It's just getting worse and worse. More and more pushing and shoving between Taylor and Heim. Where is this going to go?
I was thinking, yeah, with the Heim bumping to 7, and Taylor, of course, ran him more to the middle.
No! Saves it. Well, we're staying green for now. Ooh.
All right. Okay.
They're separated. It's like 2 kids fighting on the playground.
We can actually breathe now.
Yeah, breathe a big-time sigh of relief as Herschel has just been passed by Ryan Vargas. The current effective race leader is at the line now. Where is the 41? Line here, and he's in a group. He's racing with Sean Butler and Cy Bowen and some others here. 20 laps to go that time by.
4 or 5 seconds back, just about.
This got really interesting. Ryan Vargas going to pass Chris Wetz here in a moment. There's Chris Wetz slow on the top side of 4. And he's going to give the race lead to Ryan Vargas. Right there at the line. Mercurio currently 10th. He's got a lot of cars to go through despite the 5 seconds on the racetrack. 4 seconds now on the racetrack. He's certainly closing, but he's just got so much work to do. 9, 8, whatever you want to call it, cars to pass. Granted, some of them will be easier than others. There goes Herschel. 4.1 seconds. This is going to be interesting. Lap times. Last lap time for Ryan Vargas. That last lap was a 30.494. This last lap for Mercurio, a 30.393.
Solid,
exactly a tenth. That's not going to do it. I think these tires plateau, and wow.
It's not going the way I expected it to go. And you mentioned green flag pit stops. Yeah, I think that's what does it. is that the tires aren't cooled down on the worn tires, essentially, effectively. We go just the left side, because usually everyone takes right side tires for 2 tire stops. So I feel like that's the difference.
Brian Mercurio turns 1 and 2, trying to get past some more of these cars. Here's Chris Wetz on the top side, going to try and pass him. And it's going to be an easy pass on the 71 car. Mercurio, though, only into 7th, and he's now 3.6 seconds back. Corey Heim is closing in on the current champion-to-be, Ryan Vargas, who's leading this race. Although, you know what? If I'm Ryan, let the 11 go. You don't need to win this race to win the championship. Let the 11 go. Let Corey... And you know what? Ryan could even draft off of Corey Heim here and potentially really help his race.
Yeah, that's the better decision here, especially since they both are effectively on the same strategy. Maybe, 2 laps later Corey Heim pit than Vargas, so it's better for Vargas just to let him by.
Exactly a 2-lap difference between these guys. 15 laps to go. The difference at the line there, 3.3 seconds. Brian's closing. He's just got a lot of cars to go through, including these two. Sean Butler to the top side of the racetrack. Manan Rahman right in the middle. 3 wide on a turn 2. They're going to make it, I think.
Mercurio got slowed up. Is getting slowed up on the inside. I think getting side drafted by Rahman, too.
They get by the 44 car, but now I think one of the biggest competitors that Brian Mercurio still has to pass stays in front of him. The Huffman Racing 23 of Sean Butler. Not out of the way yet. Going to try the top side is Brian Mercurio. 3.2 seconds up to Vargas as Corey Heim is within a 10th.
If those two go side by side, Heim and Vargas, how long is, if Vargas doesn't let by, how long will they stay side by side as we continue to ride on board Mercurio? As he peeks to the inside, you might try again off turn 4. There he goes.
Big time pass. Beautiful move there. Adam Mercurio getting to him right at corner exit. Here's the battle for the race lead. Corey Heim to the top side, and you have to wonder what could have been for car 11. He was so good this season. First driver to 2 wins, winning at Phoenix and then Martinsville the race after for the regular season finale. Everything, though, imploded at Talladega, and he just couldn't recover. Couldn't put the 11 back in victory lane. Nearly did last week at Kansas, but nearly doesn't cut it as he gets the fence there out of turn 4, racing with Ryan Vargas, who currently leads the championship by 2.5 seconds over Brian Mercurio. Mercurio into 5th now, right behind, right ahead now of Sean Butler, chasing Jonathan Taylor and Michael Frisch.
Yeah, Vargas fighting Heim is not going to do him wonders, and there we go. Now he settles behind the 11.
On board with Ryan Vargas, racing for the Untitled Friend League season championship. That was the concern I had in the back of my mind, was trailing Corey Heim. He's going to get tight every single time in 3 and 4 and hemorrhage more time. It's a 2-second gap, we'll call it. An extra 10th maybe in there. Ryan's just got to be perfect. 11 laps to go that time by the flag stand. 11 laps for him to hold off 2 seconds to Mercurio with a couple of cars cushioning in between.
Couple of cars in about just we'll call it 2.2 seconds. Mercurio is gonna have to be on his A game here.
By the way, a big time shout out to Zach Nichols. He is 10th, racing in the top 10 on a long run with all that damage from the mistake he made on lap 1. Props big time to Zach Nichols in the 45 car, turning this race around. It's not going to be enough unless we get a caution. And hey, we still could get a caution as we have 9.5 laps to go. Riding on board there with Brian Mercurio. There's some lap cars up here, including Matt Kemp. As that was a little bit hairy. Ryan Pistana on the outside. Going to let Ryan Vargas go through. That got close. 9 laps to go. The gap about 1.7 seconds.
Yeah, 0.2 of a second faster than Vargas is Mercurio. He'll very easily get by Jonathan Taylor here in turn 2.
He's closing, but is it enough? I mean, this is going to be a Game 7 buzzer beater kind of moment. Just watching here. Let's watch these guys into the corner, right? I'm trying to pick out the 30 car. I believe it's that dot there. That's what he's chasing. This is going to get scary right behind Kemp and Pistana up out of turn 2. They both get out of the way. Pistana stays high. Kemp, a beautiful, big time, big brain move to go to the bottom side of the racetrack and just let Mercurio have the racetrack.
That's the best decision, especially considering that it would have been not the most ideal 3-wide situation.
Mercurio closing in 1.4 seconds. Now the dot is the second one ahead, circled there in yellow. Time is running out. We'll have 6 to go this time by. It's 8/10 up to Frisch. I think time is running out. I think it's going to be just long enough unless Vargas starts making some big-time mistakes and unless Frisch races a 30 car. I wonder if Frisch gets there, and it looks like he might. What is he going to do here, Gary?
That's a solid question. I don't know if Frisch does battle, then it's going to be pretty much over for Vargas, if that is the case. But we'll see. Frisch is 0.2 of a second faster at the start-finish line last time by, and he is in the draft.
Dirty air, though, I think it is starting to outweigh that draft.
He's still managing to close, but
5 to go.
I have that same question. What's he going to do when he gets up here?
5 to go that time by. I'm getting butterflies. It's 1 second. And now just inside of a second between Vargas and Mercurio. Here goes Frisch to the inside. How hard is Ryan going to fight for this position? This could be for everything. And he just lets Frisch go by. Maybe they stack up a little bit in the center of the corner. That held up the 30 ever so slightly. And we're going to have ourselves one hell of a race, ladies and gents. The UFL Elite Series, the Untitled Friend League, has certainly saved the best for last at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Your top 3 under a blanket. Brian Mercurio trying to close for the championship. This is going to get fun. And how about these two? Two of the hardest racers out front for the final race win of the season. Each have 2 wins apiece. And they're not at all for the championship. I think we've got no holds barred. That was a big moment for Heim out of the corner.
Want these two go side by side in front of Vargas as well.
I'm not sure if that'd be good or bad. Frisch might have gotten to him there. 3 laps to go. Last time by. Mercurio starting to blink.
He's having a lot of issues.
He's back. Now he's gone. That's everything Ryan Vargas needs in the mirror. I don't think he wants to win it that way, but that's everything he needs right now. 7/10 the gap. 2 laps to go. 3 miles left in this season. Back down to turn 1. The 11 leading. Michael Frisch in second. How hard are they going to race for this last race in the season? 12 out of 12. Here we go. Blocking is Heim. Moving to the inside. Advancing is Frisch on the inside. Contact down in 3. Contact some more. Contact to go all around for this race win. White flag is out. This time by the final lap this season. Presented by Whiplash Simcams. They're door banging in front of the championship competitors. Corey Heim, Michael Frisch racing for the win. Ryan Vargas trying to hang on over Brian Mercurio for this championship. Still door banging out of the corner. Opening the door maybe to Ryan Vargas and Mercurio. He's going to have one final shot down here in 3 and 4. Is he close enough? He's closing, but it's not going to be enough. And Ryan Vargas is going to win the UFL Elite Series season championship. Corey Heim to victory lane. Unbelievable.
Wow. Sweet relief. Ryan Vargas can finally breathe a sigh of relief.
He's happy. Boy, is he happy. Here comes Sean Butler, a congratulatory moment. That's going to be a popular champion.
We'll see Mercurio too. Oh, and he's gone. To pit road he goes.
I can only imagine the heartbreak, the disappointment for Brian Mercurio. Dominant driver for sure this evening. But it's pit strategy that puts Ryan Vargas not in victory lane, but wearing the crown, if you will, here in Queen City. A champion in the UFL Elite Series. And Corey Heim celebrates into him. We can't understate this win enough, I think. Or overstate, I guess. We can't understate it. That's what I'm trying to get at. 12 laps led for Corey Heim. Beautiful run there on 2 tires, flexing a ton of muscle and synchronous burnouts there on the front stretch. Amazing effort out of both of these guys. Certainly worth celebrating for each one of them. This is really, really cool for both, and of course, really heartbreaking for Brian Mercurio. But what drama that was! That was fun.
And we were talking about is that Vargas had to do something different. He did something different, and man, did it ever work out. It almost went wrong a couple times due to a battle heading pretty much directly in front of him, and then one that was not even remotely near him that could have brought out a caution too. But wow,
we had a single car spin in there from Chris Wetz. I mean, we had a lot nearly go wrong, but Ryan Vargas hangs on at Charlotte. And again, I said it there with a few laps to go. Gary, I think that was easily the best race of the season.
Definitely. I think it was caution free to the end, especially, or from the stage end.
No, we had that caution that set us up with 40 to go or so.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, 50 I think it was. But from there, green flag to the checkered. And one of the most compelling green flag runs I've ever seen in sim racing. One of the most compelling pit strategies out of Ryan Vargas. We said for laps he needed to do something differently. I think it was 10 laps we were arguing that he needed to do something differently. And Gary, he had it planned all along. We just didn't realize that he was going for 2 tires. We thought he needed to undercut, but of course, that would have shown his hand. That would have brought, I think, everybody in right with him, just like it did once he finally did pit. Instead, he had an ace up the sleeve, went for 2 tires, and Ryan Vargas, I'm proud to introduce, is our Season 5 champion in the Untitled Friend League. Ryan, congratulations.
Holy crap. Can you believe that? Holy smokes.
I'll be honest, I can't.
What an unbelievable turn of events here. Just really stoked. I mean, this year we had a lot of incredible partners on the car this year. We had Critical Path Security, FFO. We have Butler Built, as you see on the upper quarter. Then you see Pit Pass Network. This wasn't even a planned race for them. I race a go-kart, and they sponsor me on that. And this was just like, hey, I'm not running the cart, so, we'll do a co-branded with Butler. And I can't believe it. This is my first ever, iRacing esports title, and it's really special. I mean, there's a lot of incredible partners who are on this virtual race car, who are on my real-life race car, like Critical Path Security, Lyrgus Security, Williamsburg Contracting, Butler Built, FFO, Pit Pass Network. Everybody it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And I say it's unbelievable, but really it should be believable. You were there so many times through this season, just in the background, waiting for something to go right, waiting, I think, for one of these kinds of runs where we kept saying, you had to undercut, got to do something different. Well, you had that ace up your sleeve all along. You come in 2 laps earlier than Mercurio, sure, but you take 2 tires, and even that slipped under the radar, even for us. What was the deliberation like going into that move? How long did you have that planned?
Man, so that wasn't even like a plan going into this race. That was a plan that we just kind of figured out. I was with the Hogs, Leighton, Corey, and Monin. We were all in a Discord, and Monin found a little bit of speed with taking 2 tires and just eliminating some of that time in the pit box, but also being able to free the car up enough to where you're not losing any time. So it was a big brain strategy by him, and Brian was a phenomenal. He was the favorite going into this. I was not the favorite. I am fully aware of that. Heck, I mean, Corey should have been in this championship honestly, and he won tonight. So I just consistency them to death this season, and it paid off.
Well, hey, Ryan Newman was about a half second shy of winning in 2014. By virtue of this format and just being consistent, you were about a half second clear of it this evening. And that, I think, proves that this format still does work. It still does reward consistency. You stayed consistent all season and all night. You were right there. We had trouble from the get-go. How about lap 1? Was that a bit of a heart attack, lap 1?
It was absolutely a heart attack because, I mean, it happened it was the car next to me. I just saw him spin, and I actually got a little bit of contact in there. I mean, it was a 0x, and once he spun, it gave me a 4x. But I knew my car wasn't hurt. But Oh my goodness, that could have been a race ender right there, and before the race even got started. But I just never imagined making it to this point. I don't consider myself like that great of a sim racer. I consider myself a decent sim racer, but to do this, with all these amazing partners, Pit Pass Network, Butler Bill on the car, Critical Path, FFO, Lurgus, Williamsburg Contract. I keep naming them, but I'm just thankful to have them, and to do it with all those amazing folks on the car, and you know, this is my first sim racing championship, so I'm over the moon for sure. This is just a very good pick me up for today.
I'm gonna jump in here real quick, Andrew. I'm not only that, but also while you're in the middle of running a national series, I think two of them at once as well. That's just I said it before a couple times at the end of a couple broadcasts where it's impressive, and I can't entirely fathom the idea of like some drivers still be having just that much free time to be, especially in the middle of the week, just being able to do stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean I'm very fortunate that these things you know they happen at night, right? So it doesn't really take up my time in terms of like trying getting in the way of prep, so on and so forth. It happens after quote unquote business hours. I work on sponsorship and meetings and all that stuff, from 8:30, 9 o'clock to 5 or 6 p.m. I mean, heck, today I was able to get wrapped up at around 4:30. So I mean, it's like it doesn't really get in the way per se. I mean, if this was the Coke series and I had to do a bunch of practice, they would definitely get in the way for sure. But nonetheless, just there were some very talented drivers in this league that arguably were better than I was. But in terms of being consistent, I feel like that's where I had him beat all season long, and that's what ended up getting us this title.
Ryan, I'm looking for the actual post on Twitter, but I saw something this week that you are in the top 5 for sponsorship deals in all of NASCAR in the last year or so. That, I think, proves your hard work on and off the racetrack, and I think gets more to Gary's point. How much is going on for you in a normal day?
Oh man, in a normal day, I mean, it consists of getting up, like I said, 7:30, 8 a.m. Then I either hop on my desk in my bedroom or I go to the race shop and pop all my gear up on the table and start working on stuff there. But that's my daily. My daily is marketing, trying to find things to do, and tomorrow is we're gonna be putting the finishing touches on the truck and sending it off to Darlington. So running the Sean Woodside throwback this weekend. We got KSDT on it, TRS Sesco, Advanced Masonry Concrete, Williamsburg Contracting, Rangeline Group. A lot of amazing partners on that real life race car that I might as well give a shout out here because
Absolutely.
It's awesome. I'm speechless just because this is the first, like I said, this is the first time I've had this kind of success on the sim. So it's cool.
We'll let you go in a second here, but I found the post finally. Number 2 on the list of most endorsed drivers, number of brand endorsements to Anthony Alfredo, but you're beating out Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Jeb Burton, some serious big names, and everybody else in that list too. Number 2, that has got to be huge, and I guess just walk us through how some of these things came together real quick for Darlington and how you're feeling for this weekend, because that, I think, is still looms above all of this. You've got a really big weekend with the Lady in Black.
Yeah, we race in a little over a day now in Darlington on Friday night, but it's crazy. I mean, you look at those names too. I mean, those guys, they all have teams of marketing people, sales people, and all that stuff. As for myself, I'm fortunate to have a few people now who help me, but every deal up to this point, I've done myself. It's been a one-man team, so to go up against those guys who have who are fortunate to have those resources and be able to be close to them and try and represent myself in the best way possible, and trying to deliver the best possible I guess you could say results for them, whether it be performance on the track or delivering for them off the track. That's the number one thing in my mind every single day.
Well, Ryan, I think we've taken enough of your time, buddy. Congratulations. Seriously, congratulations on this very hard-fought championship this evening. You came in, you started last of the 4, 4th of the 4, and you end up finishing first of the 4 when it's all said and done by 2/10 there at the end on the most ballsy pit strategy. Gary and I were going back and forth. He needs to do something different. Needs to undercut maybe. No, like I said, you had that ace up your sleeve, and boy, did it work. Nearly, literally, I think, to perfection. Once again, Ryan Vargas, you are the champion. Congratulations. This is big.
Heck yeah. No, thank you guys. Thank you, John, for putting this season on. Thank you, Monin, for convincing me to do that ballsy strategy. And thank you guys for broadcasting this every week. It's cool that this league's finally getting some airtime. I've been a part of it since season 1, and John puts a lot of work into it. Everybody puts a lot of effort into it. I would say the turnout every week this season has been the best we've seen, and it's been the most competitive season by far. So, just fortunate to be a part of it and be as competitive as I am, and heck, I'm fortunate to be a champion now.
Absolutely, Ryan. Thank you for your time. Once again, congratulations. Celebrate for sure. Don't celebrate too hard, of course. Blue collar calls, but celebrate this one. Amazing work, buddy.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Ryan Vargas, champion of the series here in the UFL Elite Series. I'm a little bit stunned still, but big time congratulations go out to the entire effort there behind car 30. Let's bring in now our race winner. Gary, we almost forgot. Corey Heim goes to victory lane. The first and only driver to 3 wins this season in the UFL Elite Series gets it done in race number 12.
Not only that, not only the first and only driver to 3 wins in the series, but also the first and only driver to 3 wins in the series with a finishing margin of 0.018 seconds, doing it in style in the drag race with Michael Frisch at the end. Corey, you did pretty much effectively the same tire strategy that Vargas did just 2 laps later, and it just ever so slightly paid off for you.
Yeah, we collectively as a team wanted to do that tire strategy. We had Monin, our other teammate, run that earlier in the race, and he said it worked, and there's really nothing for me to lose. I'm not really competing for anything at this point except for wins, and so I went ahead and tried it and gave me a ton of track position, and I thought I had it by like seconds. Like I was not worried about it at all, but as soon as we got kind of within 10 laps, Frisch got in the top 3-ish there, and then I saw him clicking away a really good lap time. So definitely was a lot tougher than I anticipated after we kind of got out ahead there, but really cool to see Ryan win. He's kind of an affiliate with our team, so he was also in on that strategy, and it clearly worked out for him and me and the win and everything. So really good day for the Hog Tamers. So huge thanks to them and EPI and Toyota.
And of course, walk us through effectively the last 3 laps we'll go with your battle between yourself and Michael Frisch, because Frisch was all over your back bumper, side drafting you. You guys rubbed some doors a couple times, and somehow you both came out relatively clean, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about him ever. I mean, he's always really fun to race against. He races hard, he races clean, and he's always fast. So I feel like I'm around him a lot. But him and Brian both, and Ryan, everyone that was up front there, it's just really good to race around those guys. I feel like once you kind of get in the mid pack is when you start having a hard time getting around people. So earlier in that long green flag run we had, I was a little worried just because I was back to like 5th and 6th, and people started dive bombing, and then they get angry and try to wreck you. I had someone try to wreck me earlier. So once you get back there, it's tough. But as soon as you get back in the top 3, it's like you get around really good guys. So definitely helped me out to be able to be around those guys. If I'd taken the 4 tires and had to pass some of the guys that were on the same strategy and like short pitted, got out in front, would have made it a lot tougher. So definitely benefited out of that for sure.
Looking ahead for, I guess, the next season, effectively at this point, what are your thoughts heading in towards that? If that's at least if your schedule even permits it.
For sure. I mean, I'd like to do as many as possible. I think as long as we run them on the same nights, I'll be able to do it. I have a lot of fun with this league. John does a great job with everything, and all the other admins do, a heck of a job. And I know some races were rough this year just with the cautions and a lot of wrecks, but I feel like once the field narrows out towards the end of the year, it really, gets some really good racing. So hopefully when all the people come back to start the year next year, we can, have a better start and get some more races like this where we get some green flag runs. So, just hats off to everyone that kind of makes it happen with UFL, and I'm looking forward to next year.
Well, it's a great job, and great talking to you, of course, as well throughout not only the season, pretty much throughout the season, at least in my case, the second half of the season, but putting on fantastic racing, of course, and ending out the season on a win as well, and of course, the most wins out of any driver in the series.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Corey Heim, a big W this evening for the Hog Tamers in car 11. Move on down the line to the driver who finishes second, Michael Frisch. A really solid rally for him, nearly nearly gets by Corey Heim, but ends up door banging to the line. Michael, I know it's kind of overshadowed by the championship, but what a battle between you and Corey there for the race win. You just got by Ryan, you got to Corey, you guys door banged down the backstretch, door banged to the start finish line, looking like Darlington 2003 in throwback week. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a nice little brawl we had between me and Corey. It's always fun to get race against him, especially when it comes down to the last 2 laps, especially when we're on totally 2 different strategies and 2 guys behind us are fighting for a championship and we're pretty much fighting just for a win. So it was pretty fun there. I mean, I love Charlotte. I love this track. We were fast all night on the long run. We kind of saved tires. In my opinion, probably the best, because I got around Brian there on that last run there, and he was a whole second back behind me. So we definitely had the pace tonight. Just got we tried something at the first stage, and it really didn't work out. If I could go back in time, I would change what I do.
Well, the under the radar battle of all of that was you and Corey racing to the line to be the winningest driver of the season. I know you were relatively part-time, missed a few races, just enough to take you out of the playoffs, and you kind of, I think, again, under the radar in that regard, but you were literally 2/100ths of a second away from being the winningest driver on the season, and of course that comes by Talladega, going back to how it maybe certainly should have been. Sucks we couldn't talk to you then, but glad it worked out. How much of that, though, is, I guess, a bolster to you as a sim racer? You nearly had the most wins out of anybody, and there are some really talented drivers, real and virtual, in this field. I mean, this is a stacked field, week in, week out. The most competitive this series has ever been. We've heard it from somebody who just won the championship but has been here for all 5 seasons. This is a really stacked field. You nearly had the most wins of anybody in it. How does that feel as a sim racer, just going on with your regular activities throughout the week?
It feels great. Definitely a big confidence booster heading in tomorrow. Myself, I do the Road to Pro ladder and all that to try to be a Coke driver. So I know what it is to be around stacked drivers, and I tell you tonight, this was a stacked field. I've been racing around these guys for years, since the NR 2003 days, and like you said, some newcomers that come from the virtual life that race on the sim, and it makes a great combination, and it lets people show what they actually can do. And I honestly, there's no other place to do it than iRacing, really.
And how about that? Where do you sit in Road to Pro standings right now? I know we're getting close to the split, right, for the top 70?
Yeah, actually, we've actually had a really great first round. We came actually really close to winning Atlanta in top split. But we sit 5th in points right now, so we're pretty much locked into the second round, but it's really working on my teammates and getting them in, because that's really important for me to make sure the collective group gets in.
It's crazy. You pro and almost pro sim racers are literal machines. Best of luck to the rest of Road to Pro, and hopefully we're talking to you sometime later this year with some more UFL racing. It has certainly been a pleasure. Nearly 3 wins for you, but still 2. Congratulations on a P2 here this evening by 2/100ths of a second.
Thank you, guys. I just want to give a huge shout out to all the drivers that showed up all season long, the broadcasters, John himself for putting this thing on, EPI for sponsoring the thing, and of course my guys, Bar Visuals and North Force Racing. Wouldn't be possible without them. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. And Michael Fresh, nearly the winningest driver of the season, won back at Las Vegas, won at Talladega after that controversial finish, Gary, and nearly had it this evening, but comes up 2/100ths of a second short. That is insane how it came down to that close of a margin after everything we saw this evening. The race info tab doesn't even tell the whole story. 4 cautions for 18 laps, 14 lead changes. I guess the 14 lead changes is slightly indicative, Gary, but this 100% the best race of the season. Had all kinds of great feels to it. I mentioned earlier the kind of throwback iRacing vibe of the static weather and time, and everything just worked out really beautifully.
Everything worked out just insanely well. It worked out fantastically, and especially with everything. Actually, now that I think about it, the 14 lead changes, like you said, does not tell the entire story. That is for sure.
See the full season spread here from February 8th, 91 days later. The race 1 winner of Ryan Vargas Doesn't quite go to victory lane again, but does get the championship here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. May as well be victory lane. What an impressive season these guys put together, and I really hope we're able to stick around for more seasons. This has been, I'll just go ahead and say it, this has been the most exciting and most dramatic and I think most rewarding oval racing series I have ever been around and certainly ever covered, real or virtual. This has been a lot of fun. The UFL Elite Series is I think, where this is at. I know there's all kinds of mixing, certainly industry member leagues and mixing that with, more virtual sim racers and, just sim guys in general. I think this is the perfect mix. We've got a really, really stacked field. I mean, your top five, Corey Heim, Michael Frisch, Ryan Vargas, Brian Mercurio, Sean Butler. That is one hell of a mix, and they put on one hell of a show. I genuinely am so impressed, and it's really cool to see everything come to a close like this. I know there was a lot of drama the last month and a half or so. I'm glad it all paid off. I'm so glad it paid off for Jonathan Palmieri, Tristan Hagenstein, and everybody else who puts their hard work, blood, sweat, and tears into this series. It's not without effort, that is for sure. They put a lot of work into it, and nights like tonight, I think it's noticed the most.
Not only the most stacked, essentially the most stacked roster of just mixing a bunch of people in the industry together, but also the most stacked schedule, as we saw for the. It's a fantastic mix. It's amazing, and it shows itself really, really well.
We maybe could have done with one more road course. That might have been cool to add in. You probably could have made cases for probably 10 other tracks that could have been in there. But a really solid schedule. And John Palmieri and everybody else with the series, big time hats off to everybody organizing this season and this series of racing. It's been a lot of fun. Before we drone on for too long and talk for hours like I know we could, let's talk about some upcoming broadcasts here at Pit Stop TV and how we move on from this one, because boy, was it a doozy. And, tomorrow night might be the same as well. Gary, you're going to Barber Motorsports Park with the North American Racing League Porsche Cup cars at Barber. 30 minutes for you in the AM race. That's going to be one heck of a combo.
I am only slightly terrified, and I technically know the track. I just haven't really put some laps around there as of, not in that car specifically, but I probably should. But I'm still excited regardless. It kind of goes from the being surrounded by walls at Belle Isle to actually having a couple curbs that will definitely murder you at Imola to grass everywhere, just a bunch of grass.
Still some pretty big concrete curbs on the insides of the corners of Barber, but a whole lot of grass and some spiders way out there as well. Monday evening, we go to New Smyrna Speedway on May 15th for round 10 of 12 for the iRacing Cars Late Model Stock Tour, presented by series partner, by the way, Elite Performance Industries, powered by the shop. Everybody over there at EPI puts in really hard work every week. They have really put together some solid late model setups and programs these last few weeks and are getting their A game on. Alex McCullum contending for the championship in that official series. It's going to be exciting to see how he and Ryan Kuhn duke things out as we now have drop weeks getting figured in from this week onwards. And of course, Tuesday, a brand new league added here on Pit Stop TV, the D-Line Racing League, brought to you by Elevator Performance, heading out to USA International Speedway, which, by the way, is the same track that the iRacing Cars Late Model Stock Tour is ending their season on. USA Lakeland, round 12 for those guys. So we get a little preview of that championship action and how it might go on Tuesday evening when we take late model stocks to that same racetrack for round 2 of the D-Line Racing League. And usually this is where I would say, of course, Wednesday we're coming back with UFL Elite Series, going to whatever racetrack, but that's it for the season. And Gary, I quite honestly, I can't believe it's over. It's been a really crazy 91 days of racing. 12 days of racing, 91 days of league going, if you will. It's really surreal. Anytime a series ends, it's really surreal to imagine the fact that it's actually over. And in this case, Ryan Vargas is our champion.
Yeah, that's going to be the time that next week arrives, and it's like, oh, right, I don't have anything to commentate on. And then it hits me. It's like, oh, right, I don't have anything to commentate on because the series is over. So, well, at least for the season is over, I should say more specifically. But what a great season it was. That is, wow, it has been one heck of a season. And I've only been here for half of it.
It really has been an amazing season. Again, hats off to everybody with the series. And, of course, make sure to follow along Pit Stop TV on social media everywhere these days. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We post all of our social media updates and tune-in graphics and everything else there. And, of course, we broadcast to the platforms on the right as well, Twitch, YouTube, and Kick, now added to our spread. It's been a lot of fun this season. At some point, we've got to close it out, though. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a really, really fun experience, and, we haven't really had Season 6 talks yet with Jonathan Palmieri. I just hope we're involved. This has been so fun, and genuinely, thanks to everybody with the series. Thanks to all the drivers for welcoming us in with open arms, supporting the broadcast. I know sometimes drivers in leagues, you have a new broadcast team come in, it's difficult to get behind them at first. You don't know these guys. You don't know who's talking about you in these races, calling you out for crashes, but you guys have all been fantastic to commentate. I know, yes, we've gotten critical moments. That is part of it. That is part of making it dramatic, and we love all of you guys. It has been so much fun covering this series. So, Gary, once again, thanks for being here. It certainly has been a pleasure, along with just being here in general. Glad to have you back in broadcasting. Really so thankful to have you here at Pit Stop TV. You're a big-time asset here. A big-time thank you, of course, to In Audio, ATVO, Whiplash Media, SimCams, OBS, and iRacing.com, making this all possible. How about a shout-out to Cody Williams Design, Speed Visions, and Elite Performance Industries, allowing us to go racing for 12 races this season. Hopefully we'll see you back for Season 6 very, very soon. Until then, join us tomorrow night for the North American Racing League at Barber Motorsports Park. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV, Gary Weaver alongside. We'll see you then.